Songwoo's skeletons surge forward, tearing through the monsters like a tide of death. Within seconds, the horde collapses into mangled corpses, bleeding into the dirt. From the ridge, Sergeant Kim and his soldiers watched with hollow, disbelieving eyes. His voice cracks under the weight of awe and bitter regret. His fallen comrades could have fought just as hard if the higher-ups hadn't thrown them into battle with no plan. He breaks down, sobbing for his mother, questioning if blind obedience cost them everything. 7. Sergeant Kim stares back, completely caught off guard when Songwoo announces it's time to reclaim the airstrip. But before anyone can process it, Kyung-soo lets out a triumphant roar. He's tied down 4 were-bearers all by himself. Songwoo praises him, but Kyung-soo's voice trembles as he admitted that the triumphant roar, anyone would have struggled in that chaos, and he gave everything to protect the town. Their eyes sweep across the wreckage. Someone mutters in disbelief at the carnage. The town lies in ruins, bodies scattered among the debris. Then one guy shrugs it off, breaking his passage. Someone mutters in disbelief at the carnage. The town lies in ruins, bodies scattered among the debris. Then one guy shrugs it off, breaking. He's killed a werebear before and they're damn strong. Sergeant First Class Jill Kang, a 3-star striker who fights with nothing but martial arts. Kim approaches Kang, asking if preparations are complete since Songwoo is ready to move out. Kang sneers back, mocking whether Kim has been reduced to Songwoo's personal messenger. Kim approaches Kang, asking if preparations are complete, mind his own business, then lets out a dismissive grunt. He demands to know if Kim's unit is even killing monsters like they're supposed to. Kim stammers out a weak complaint, every whispered grievance about comrades dying on the job. 5. Kang accuses them of slacking off while the commander tracks their every move in real time. Real-time location tracking, Songwoo realizes with disgust that the army has turned its soldiers into enslaved gold farmers. Kim's composure shatters as he screams back, demanding Kang acknowledge how many of his units have already been slaughtered, sacrificed entirely. He reminds Kim of his place. Lowly privates exist only to shut up and funnel gold upward while Kang himself fights the real monsters. Kim's voice breaks as he fires back that he chose Battlesmith for one reason: to do anything in his power to keep his soldiers alive. Staring down at the Battlesmith like he's less than human, the air freezes as every witness holds their breath, too terrified to step in. Then Songwoo's voice cuts through the tension. A single word, telling us. Songwoo mutters that teaching this bastard a lesson would feel good, but they've got a raid to run. They turn their backs on Kang and stride out of the tent, leaving the bully simmering in his own arrogance. Outside, furious soldiers crowd around Sergeant Kim. Kong-woo mutters that teaching this bastard a lesson would feel good, but they've got a raid to run. They turn their backs on Kang and stride out of the tent, leaving the bully simmering in his own arrogance. Outside, furious soldiers crowd around Sergeant Kim. Kong-woo mutters that Woo brushes it off without hesitation. Kim explains quietly that Kang feels threatened by Songwoo's power and is taking all that fear out on this raid. Kim says they'd better finish their own preparations. Hanno shakes his head, muttering that Sergeant Kim is truly a pitiful guy. Carved from gravel and bone, a deep, ominous hum resonates through the earth beneath their feet. Someone groans in sheer exasperation at the sight. No wonder planes haven't been able to use the airstrip. The entire runway looks like a war zone. Kang brushes it off casually, claiming he messed around with the boss monster the other day and found it pretty energetic. Hanho mutters under his breath. Wonderfully, with the boss monster, the entire runway looks like a war zone. Kang brushes it off casually, claiming he messed around with the boss monster the other day, and finally keeps it on shack, waiting for a message. Worthless. His envy and temper are sabotaging any useful intel before it leaves his lips. Fortunately, Sergeant Kim already briefed Songwoo on the boss, so Kang's nonsense doesn't really matter. The boss monster emerges a giant troll that shakes the ground with every step. Gasps rip through the radio cartridge, and her face drains pale. It's way bigger than anything she imagined. Kang's confidence crumbles as he realizes his brute force plan using 4 werebears is now completely worthless. The troll's head snaps toward him with a guttural growl. It spotted him immediately. Kang shrieks at the towering beast, slams into the ground, sending jagged cracks shooting across the entire airstrip. Songwoo rises from the impact completely unharmed, his expression ice cold. One plan was never going to be enough anyway. He sidesteps into the ground, its roar drowning out everything else. A sickening crack splits the air as Songwoo's zombie horde begins collapsing one by one, pulverized by the monster's raw force. 7-1. Jesu's panicked voice cuts through the dust cloud. She's never watched his army fall apart this fast. Her voice trembles with genuine fear as she begs Song-woo to stay calm. The zombies are all dying around him. But Song-woo just watches the carnage with a calculating stare, deciding it's time to make the decision, aiding the fallen bodies right in the troll's face. The blast tears through the air as the monster howls in shock and fury. The smoke clears, and the massive creature thuds forward another step. Song-woo's eyes narrow. It took the explosion directly in his contention. It's packing insane defense and it's already regenerating the damage. The boss should be weakened by the curse, taking continuous damage over time, but it doesn't seem affected at all. See abilities like the slimes, vampires, or tree spirits, just raw, overwhelming physical power that crushes everything. Song-woo grits his teeth, admitting he absolutely hates fighting monsters built like this. Kang cackles from the sideline, mocking Song-woo's useless finisher, and claiming running now would do it, already racing through alternative strategies with lethal focus. He declares there's still a way to bring this monster down, but it's got to be executed safely and efficiently. A familiar fire lights in his eyes as he announces it's finally their turn to join the fight, and without missing a beat, Hanho calls forth the Death Knight. As the Hwarang Guild turns on their country, Song-woo Yu watches from the shadows, his Death Knight's blade clearing its sheath. The military is stumbling blind in a twisted system, and now they're coming for him, flooding the forums with victory news to check the guild's wildfire spread. But the commander cuts him down with a glare, revealing their identity would paint a target on their backs, and invites annihilation. Nobody knows who built this system. So, every step is a gamble. Overpowering influence isn't just arrogance, it's suicide. He reminds them that the power to control soldiers flows directly from the system itself. His eyes turn to stone as he declares anyone refusing to cooperate will be eliminated. The tension spikes get dead now in the setting. Without disposing, it's not against everything that power to control. Kang deploys with 2 units to corner Sergeant Kim until he has no choice but to obey. One soldier hesitates, wondering if the Necromancer's little crew could actually cause trouble. But Kang mocks a woman with a sword, dismissing her as a scared girl who'd crumple against a drag, calling him physically pathetic. His greedy smirk widens. He doesn't want to kill them yet. First, drain them of every last gold coin, then squeeze them dry. To the soldiers forced to listen, this isn't a military operation anymore. It's armed robbery wearing a uniform. Orders are absolute, and Sergeant Kang always gets the job done. Suddenly, a giant troll's primal roar tears across the battlefield, rattling bones and shaking the ground. A second savage bellow signals the beast is done toying with its prey, letting crushing blows glance off him like wind as he demands something that actually hurts. Sergeant Kim's ally activates his holy barrier. The Punisher of Faith plants his feet and cackles like a mad king. Correction, he prefers. The Bruiser, a thug cloaked in divine light. The troll growls, confused by the shimmering wall. Throat. Song-woo's eyes glint with grim certainty. Now, the beast lunges, claws raking through the air with deadly intent. A soldier cries out as shards of rock explode around them. Jisoo and Hanho explode into motion, spring straight toward the monster's stopping. Swing is telegraphed, slow and predictable. Jisoo's blade bites deep, carving lines of black ichor. This monster is far from invincible. The trap is set. Hanho yells that the rope is anchored and ready. He breaks out the B-rank rope from his survival kit, unbreakable even against. 2, he calls. Go. She acknowledges with a sharp, fierce nod, already weaving between massive ankles. The soldiers hidden in the trees nearly drop their weapons. These aren't just minion wranglers, they're elite warriors. The Necromancer's fame is built entirely on their strength. Meanwhile, the holy barrier blinks. 3 seconds until it fails completely. Panic spikes as Sergeant Kim realizes their protective wall is about to crumble. Hanho turns to shout that they're ready, but the sight before him freezes him cold. Blades carve through their ranks in rapid succession. Sergeant Kim barks frantic orders. Every dead goblin resets the barrier's timer. Move faster. The observers reel. They're slaughtering goblins and fighting a boss at the same time, without missing a beat. Now they understand the Punisher's power feeds on death. Buying pressures feeds on death. Buying pressures is every fresh corpse. A girl with a sword may handle monsters, but she's never faced trained soldiers in human combat. A treacherous thought slithers through his mind. Would it be smarter to just kill the Necromancer right now? Song-woo's head turns suddenly, his gaze piercing through the trees. Monster's legs is a death wish. Too dangerous, he warns, his voice cutting with genuine fear for them. He orders his minions to take the risk instead. That's what they're for. Hanno fires back instantly. If the boss wipes out the skeletons, the entire plan collapses. She and Hanho are faster. They can do this themselves. Song-woo's jaw clenches around a silent protest. Every instinct screams to shield them, but their resolve is iron. He stalls, desperate to find an option that doesn't throw his friends into the jaws of death. Rebellion in her eyes. She's done being treated like fragile cargo. Her voice is steady as steel. He is their partner. He will trust them. The rope yanks taut, and the troll's massive ankle slams into the dirt. With a deafening crash, the colossal brute pitches forward like a falling oak. It steps into his face. With a deafening crash, the colossal brute pitches forward like a falling oak. Its legs hopelessly bound, beast thrashes against the unbreakable rope. Hanho screams in triumph. The boss is pinned. Pride replaces Song-woo's tension. Now it's his turn to deliver the final blow. One word unleashes hell. Air. But Song-woo already knows the ambush is coming. Rage twists the sergeant's face as bone coalesces in the necromancer's grip. A weapon forged from fury. The traitor's surprise attack hasn't even landed yet, and it's already doomed to fail. Glitch. They don't see what's coming. Bone peels from Seong-woo's arm, forming a shield just as the ambush triggers. The sergeant's eyes bulge. A bone shield, his attack crumples into nothing. He roars, ordering his troops to swarm the skeleton. What unleashes a magnum blow straight for Song-woo's skull. The impact cracks against the shield like thunderbutt, but Song-woo slips aside with contemptuous ease. Too slow. The sergeant's frustration boils over and laughs. What's he gonna do? Throw a punch? A fist slams into his jaw before he can blink. He stumbles back, shock flooding his veins. Rage twists his face. This little prick actually hit him. Another bone-rattling blow crushes into his jaw. Then his eyes catch the dagger buried in his eyes. Waiting for him to fight it. Smirks. His armor isn't just plating, it's living bone. Crafting weapons from his own armor is child's play. Every level grinds into those skills, unlocking deadlier potential. It's that raw strength in close-quarters combat still belong to him. That confidence shatters as Song-woo's next words punch through his ego. The necromancer gestures casually. He can grow weapons from his skeleton minions too. A tense silence hangs over the battlefield. Then the fallen skeletons stir the pile of corpses and impales the sergeant's shoulder. His combat experience means nothing now. Song-woo demands if he's still got anything to say about close combat. Kang roars at his frozen soldiers. Get off your asses and help him. He eyes. One soldier steps forward. The situation speaks for itself. He announces they're done being slaughtered like lambs under Kang's command. They choose to survive. Kang's face twists in disbelief. This is mutiny. These bastards can't be serious. Another soldier speaks for itself. Army. A chorus of agreement erupts from the ranks. They can't stomach this any longer. Soldiers lower their weapons one by one. Kang's command shatters like glass under the weight of their disgust. Onto the scene. Demanding to know what the hell is happening, a soldier flatly reports that the other platoon already spilled everything about this filthy mission. The company commander scans the mutinous faces. Cold dread seeps in as he realizes this unit has slipped completely from his grasp. The silence stretches. Nobody moves. Commander stands there, surrounded by men who just walked out of his control. And Song-woo watches it all unfold. In a silent war of wills. No orders come, no weapons rise. The mutiny is absolute. Every man has made his choice. The commander's authority evaporates like smoke. Song-woo waits, letting the weight of their decision. Song-woo waits, letting the weight of their decision. Only power that matters on this battlefield. Words come. What can he say to men who've seen the truth? One soldier's hand twitches toward his weapon, then stops. The choice is made. The commander finally lowers his head. He knows the fight is over before it ever really began. Song-woo's presence alone flipped this entire unit. Orders from their officer, but for what the necromancer will do next. Kang lies wounded, the sergeant's command broken. The soldiers stand free of their corrupt leadership. The company commander stands powerless, stripped of authority. And Song-woo, the lone necromancer, holds the only real power here. But this victory is just one step out. The mission that brought them here remains unfinished. Someone else is watching. The necromancer's growing strength won't go unnoticed for long. Park, voicing crushing disappointment. Park should have sniffed out the treason. That's when Songwoo steps forward, voice dripping with contempt. He finally understands why the troops broke every death ordered. Every focus that murder, scrambling to justify every order. He claims they're only alive because he struck fast, wiped out every monster, and discovered a new way to boost morale. But on the day the apocalypse began, this unit bled to push back the monsters, and a hidden Cinegreen came to its step. As one, a hidden synergy effect granted to the group. But that gift was a trap, an iron grip of absolute obedience that punishes defiance with searing hellfire. Every soldier lives under that invisible chain, the constant dread that survival means never saying no. And sending soldiers to die by force is his sacred duty. Songwoo cuts in, voice sharp, and until they uncover the system's true master, everyone is just a pawn. It's done with rhetoric. He wants the truth about why he was marked for death. He knew Songwoo would become a dangerous thorn in his side. He accuses our hero of seeing the chaos as an opportunity for private factions to seize power. Songwoo's voice remains steady. People crash. Only elites like him, with networks of talent, can run the massive state machine. And anyone like Songwoo the Yongdoing Po bastard, or any private faction leader, is a cancer. That must be cut out. Songwoo almost chuckles, this fool genuinely a passing. He lays down the ultimatum. Free the soldiers, hand over every last gold coin, and he'll leave after the main quest. He calls Songwoo a goddamn traitor, insisting the gold and troops are state property. Songwoo's tone drops to ice. This is not a negotiation. Hand it all over or die right here. Shock splashes across the commander's face, condition that Songwoo leaves Hwaseong and Suwon. Then a desperate plea. Can't the soldiers stay to rebuild society? Songwoo shakes his head. The era of enslaving troops under that cursed synergy ends today. A notification pings. 45,000 gold shrubs directly from the commander's stash. Disappointed. With all those forced quests, this tyrant barely scraped together a fortune. Before leaving, he remembers the Werebeast vial and demands to know where it came from. The deal. Under that unblinking stare, he cracks and spills everything. Shady merchants called the wandering peddlers sold him the vial. Songwoo's suspicion sharpens, and he presses for their base of operations. The peddlers only repeated their catchphrase about the powerless and pathetic clinging to the roulette wheel of fortune. He remembers that phrase because it sounded like a twisted sales pitch that convinced him to buy. That phrase clicks in Songwoo's mind. It matches the graffiti scrawled on the desk route. He remembers that phrase is never loaned. Taj. Done with the interrogation, Songwoo warns that he'll be watching through Sergeant Kim. Break your word and there will be consequences. Suddenly, the commander's voice tears through the air, screaming that Songwoo must be punished for crimes. Over it stretches, Obo flies. The traitor squints, breath caught in his throat. Did they get him? But Songwoo's voice follows, completely calm and a grunt of pain. A scam. Freaks, ordering his men to open fire, but not a single soldier moves. Their loyalty evaporated the moment their leader revealed himself. A system announcement confirms a kill. 8,000 gold, double event bonus. Another death, another gold reward. 6,000 gold settled. His face as he shrieks for mercy. He thrusts a device forward, an Abyss concentrate bomb, desperately boasting he tested it on orcs, a last resort from those peddlers. He invites the commander to set it off, both of them dying together. The commander's brain short-circuits. What? Songwoo just shrugs and repeats himself. Go ahead, use your little Abyss thing. He reminisces almost fondly about when an orc chief tried to say no. Promise of mutual death. Hellfire is just another Tuesday for him. Absolute despair crashes over the commander's face. As the truth sinks in, this monster isn't afraid to die, making him utterly unstoppable. Every soldier in the room, watching the total dismantling of the tyrant who once crushed their spirits. The commander never once spoke of saving people, only rebuilding his own power. He condemns the man as a con man, not a soldier, protecting only his own interests. The commander spits out one final insult. Traitor insane, right before the end. Double bonus, and this time it's the commander himself. Songwoo scoffs. Only level 3, this guy never bothered to actually grow stronger. Too busy exploiting his synergy to hoard gold. He never understood the brutal rules of this new world. Even then, the stash is pathetic, only 45,000 of those dark rules. Vault door gives way. With a final grunt, the door swings wide. Songwoo's eyes widen at the treasure inside. Now it clicks. This is where the missing gold went. Into a private armory. The system identifies the werebeast vial on display. A player-made item that transforms the user into a private armory. The system identifies the werebeast vial on display. A player-made item that transforms the user into a werewolf for 20 minutes, gleaming in the dim light. Weapons and treasures hoarded while his soldiers starved and bled. The pressure only grows, and the next move feels inevitable. Stolen gold in that armory could have saved the dying soldiers, but not a single potion reached them. Songwoo faces the bitter accusation head-on. The weight of every fading heartbeat settled on his chest. Manhwa that ditching a narrow class skill was no mistake. In a hellscape like this, versatility is survival, and tiger types barely scratch the surface of what's coming. He praises Hanho's new healing skill. If the Lich King's undead legions march to priest, the moment that ditching a narrow class skill was no mistake, and the tiger types barely scratched the surface of what's coming up. Range and sling daggers from a distance. With brutal training, he could become terrifying. A cold flicker crosses Songwoo's mind. This oddball priest might genuinely surpass him one day. Reward box. Legendary rank absorbing 10% of all magic damage and letting him vanish in darkness. Hanno erupts in helpless rage over his rotten luck, then thrusts the robe toward Jisoo in a clumsy fit of generosity. Sergeant Kim delivers the final report. Most soldiers will join them, Kim admits, and he expects next to nothing from the leftovers. Songwoo orders everyone back to town. A mountain of work still claws at them. This is where all the stolen gold ended up. The Bone King seizes every last piece for himself. Songwoo's fist closes around enchanted blades. Crate by crate, the fortress of greed. Crate by crate, the fortress of greed crumbling under his inventory. He's hit level 12, but a frustrated curse escapes his lips. At this crawling pace, level 15 feels like an eternity away. The nightmare silhouette of the Ghoul King rears up in his memory. His current strength would splitter into his memory. One ends. The double gold bonus vanishes, and the travel band shatters open. Hanho howls in agony as all that easy gold evaporates. The system ushers in Chapter 2, Facing a Greater Destiny. Those who endured now burn brighter. Travel is wide open. Fresh encoding glacier. Those who endured now burn brighter. Woo. This game never lets them breathe easy. Two things matter now. The raid bosses and angels and demons. A complete unknown. Hanho shoves his phone forward. The area leader bosses were straight. Green. Each rank a burning brand. Disbelief clubs Songwoo right in the gut. First place is already level 15, while he sweated blood just to claw his way to 12. No lifeless addict could grind that hard. The fourth and fifth slots reek too. Dugo, clearly a pack of hunters. Both songs were still songing. The second-ranked player, the prosecutor of Yangdongpo, has thrown down an open invitation to meet. His Liberation Guild, 500 souls strong, extends an official hand to the Necromancer. In a world drowning in selfishness, trust is a luxury nobody can afford. Songwoo knew this meeting would come. Now it's just one more heavy stone stacked on his shoulders. He locks the screen, the name prosecutor curling into a fresh knot of paranoia. Far across the shadowed city, inside of 40 milligram. If you had changed the blade reference from him, Songwoo knew this meeting would come. Now it's just one more heavy stone stacked on his shoulders. The battlefield did not settle out of its shoulders. Without its stuttered city, its unmotivated head still, ambition burning behind a mask of perfect calm. The announcement doesn't excite him. It simply confirms what he already set in motion. He speaks without glancing up. Their sacred duty doesn't bend to shifting circumstances. To stop civilization from crumbling into barbarism, they must be willing to do anything, and he means everything. But one cynic snickers at the fanboy. The guildmaster ordered them to recruit the strongest players. They tried digging up the phantom sitting at number 1, but that rank 1 player is a ghost. No trace, just silence. So they left that gracious message for the Necromancer, third place on the guildmaster's behalf. Countless people in Suwon, but the whispers say he won't lift a finger without a payday. Truth is, he rarely demands payment at all. Yet lately, the forum praise for this necromancer roars louder than their reverence for the prosecutor. a fact that sends a shudder through the guild room. The prosecutor, Lu's country's focus on them, just became his most fascinating variable. Combined might blasts the competition out of the water. That's exactly why the guildmaster's interest burns even hotter. Intel confirms the necromancer rolls with a crew of only 3 people. And somehow, through pure relentless slaughter, nobody else has leveled that fast as a bit. This necromancer must never bloom into a threat against their future. His subordinate barely begins to speak when a sharp interruption cuts in. There's a reply. Vehicle K. 157 is idling. Ready and waiting, the guildmaster drown. The guildmaster cries, without hesitation. Voice clips, and confusion comes out. Still rings in the air. But before Songwoo can act, a stunned outcry shatters the moment. 2 terrified survivors burst into view. Screaming they were ambushed, someone snatched their friend Yongsik right in front of them, demanding something called the Golden Deer. Territory. A hostage means interrogation, and interrogation means these bastards will sniff out the town in no time. Songwoo's voice drops to a cold growl. He tells the kid to lead the way, and shows exactly where those scummers are hiding. Stay silent, keep the town's location a secret, and pray that Taesong arrives before they kill him. The bandit leader's patience finally snaps. He shoots a cold glare at his subordinate and gives a single callous nod. End the kid now. The knife rises in a desperate scream for Jim. Takes off, the knife rises in a desperate scream. Lips curl into a nasty grin. He mocks the kid who ran away, sneering that he actually came back with a pathetic rescue party. The brute offers a sickening deal. Just point the way to the Golden Deer and maybe just make it dressing in flesh. Afraid. Asking why they're even hunting such a thing. The bandit leader throws his hands up in theatrical disgust. What a complete waste of time. His patience finally snaps again. He shoots a cold, callous nod. Sure, go for it. The command is so casual, so utterly unfeeling, like ordering someone to squash an insect. Gentleman's path, but these animals clearly don't deserve it. He screams at Dale to stay right there. Death is coming for them now. Evades with a hard curse. With a single devastating blow, Seongwoo sends the thug crashing to the ground like a feral dog. The bandits can only gape, their bravado crumbling into pathetic confusion. That's when everything changes. Silver flames spiral up Jisoo's arm, condensing into a blinding sphere, the air around them. A blazing fireball erupts into their ranks. Absolute chaos breaks loose. Someone screams at its pure madness. The survivors howl in agony and rage as they realize their boss just got vaporized by that girl. Screams merge into a chorus of pure terror. A thug stumbles backwards, gibbering, before collapsing in a heap. Only makes his hands useless as Jisoo descends on him. Her voice rings with righteous fury. A crossbow pointed at a woman demands the full wrath of her silver flare. But a trembling voice from the chaos threatens to slip Yongsik's low against terrified skin. And every heartbeat feels like the boy's last. Songwoo's eyes lock onto the blade, and the world narrows to that single point. He doesn't hesitate. His body moves before the thug can even tense his fingers. A dark blur slices through the space. Bone cracks as Songwoo wrenches the arm. Free. Frantic. But Yongsik manages a weak, giddy laugh. He's still breathing, quickly turns into a familiar, playful complaint. It's so unfair that Songwoo always snags the best items. But the tension in his voice carries something more than just friendly envy. He stammers, raising his hands defensively, insisting he's only after Songwoo's incredible luck. Curiosity cuts through the post-battle adrenaline as someone asks Yongsik why they tortured him over this golden deer. The boy guesses it's supposed to grant some kind of epic item. Sight pulls everyone's attention toward the ruins. Songwoo turns to look and the entire world seems to hold its breath. There, shimmering like a living myth, the golden deer finally reveals itself. A sharp, confused window flashes before their eyes. Catch the golden deer for good luck, and the reward is a ticket to a hidden stage. Of excitement, Hanho is already crowing that he told everyone Songwoo's luck was the real deal. But a guttural roar erupts, and the majestic creature bolts. A piercing shriek echoes as Death's response. Activates us. Hunt that deer down or there will be hell to pay. The prey vanishes into a narrow alley. The chase rips through the twisting back alleys, hooves clattering just ahead of them. Songwoo pushes harder, closer to the twisting back alleys, hooves clattering completely along. Sometimes, menacing growl rumbles from the creature. What he doesn't realize yet is that this is only the first obstacle. Burning with feral hunger, A third werewolf lunges, jaws snapping with lethal intent. A cold, calculated voice delivers a precise damage callout. 42-0. The werewolf unleashes a deafening roar of pure killing intent. A scream of defiance answers it, as our heroes countered it as our heroes counter strength. The first half of the hidden stage ticket materializes in their inventory, but Jisoo furrows her brow, her instincts prickling. There was something deeply unsettling about the encounter. Songwoo's expression remains grim. He knows that the beast actually made a perfectly rational decision, act on sight, mindless and hungry. But this one recognized it was outmatched and chose to flee. The implications of that are chilling. CERN. They need to return to town right now. The meeting is almost upon them. A wave of disbelief and giddy awe washes over the group as the reality sinks in. The master of the Liberation Guild is actually coming here. Someone's head snaps skyward with a sudden, urgent shout. Utterly unbothered by the wyverns cutting circles in the sky, he clearly intends for his arrival to broadcast an undeniable message of dominance as the leader of Korea's top guild. A flash of dangerous ego burns behind the grand entrance. But a sudden sharp warning cracks through the air. Everyone gets down. You're plummeting toward them. Ranked second overall, making an entrance that outshines every main character he's ever seen. Jong-hun Choi, the prosecutor of Yeongdong-po, lands with a theatrical grin, and the crowd gasps. But Songwoo's gut twists. This isn't just charisma. It's blind devotion. It's blind in fact. Pure worship, exactly how those vampires gazed at their lord. A cold shiver snakes down his spine as he sees the blind devotion mirrored on every face. Jong-hun gestures gracefully toward the entrance, inviting everyone into the stage. Jong-hun gestures gracefully toward the entrance. People wear genuine relief, a jarring contrast to the desperate world outside. Songwoo remarks how rare such peaceful expressions are and asks what that look really means. Jong-hun raises an eyebrow, countering that Songwoo's own town is far more stable, since survivors from Seoul keep flooding in endless waves. But Jong-hun's voice drops, heavy with loss. They've lost so many, yet still shelter. A massive gathering. That number slams into Songwoo like a hammer, and it will probably exceed 40,000 soon. He presses further, asking if having so many survivors makes the guild stronger. If that's why Jong-hun has been so active on the forums. The prosecutors express what it is that they would see. Realistically, not every survivor pulls their weight. How many of those 30,000 have truly adapted? Songwoo breaks it down coldly. Children, the elderly, the sick, plenty of useless people, probably less than a quarter are active contradiction. They have 30,009 people, yikes, which is exactly why they need experts who know what they're doing. Rankings. Prosecutor of Yeongdong-po, level 13, and K157, level 12, right behind him. The rankings proved something important to him, and he knows Songwoo didn't climb that high through luck, unexpectedly admitting he's not as great as everyone believes. The weight of countless people depending on him fills him with anxiety. Our hero's instincts prickle with suspicion. Why is this guy spilling his fears to a complete stranger who is cool-headed and calculating? But he wants to appeal directly to his heart. He confesses he lost his entire family when everything began, and after clawing to power, he started despising this twisted game. He follows the rules for now, but a fire burns inside. He can trust completely. And Jong-hun thinks that someone is him. The prosecutor admits he has no idea. All he knows is Songwoo's level, the sole reason he rushed here. So the question lands, does Jong-hun want our hero to join his guild? Correct. But if that were his only goal, he wouldn't have sprinkled himself. The prosecutor admits he had no idea. All that Jong-hun would have done to him. The prosecutor admits he had no idea. All that Jong-hun want our hero to join his guild. Correct. But if that were his only goal, he wouldn't have sprinted him in such hits. Is that a prophecy stone? Jong-hun confirms it, urgency bleeding through his voice. This prophecy stone is the real reason he's moving so fast. Put your hand on it right now. The system voice echoes through Songwoo's mind as his palm connects. He has touched a prophecy stone, and a vision of bad ending to for the Korean server detonates inside him. The island crumbles as a colossal tree erupts from the earth, monstrous roots shredding concrete like wet paper while the sky bleeds crimson. Our hero gasps, recognizing the location instantly. Wait, that's Uedo Island. The vision shatters and Jong-hun's voice cracks like a whip. Get down now. Songwoo barely has time to react. What the hell? Confusion grips him for a split second. Huh? The earth explodes at their feet as an enormous root shoots upward with terrifying speed, flinging debris in every direction and igniting pure panic like a detonated bomb. Song Woo's mind races. Could death fills the air as the root continues its merciless ascent. Screams of agony rip through the chaos, bodies hurled like discarded rag dolls. The world tree's roots claw upward, relentless and horrifyingly, alive and horrifyingly alive, transforming the safe haven into a death trap in seconds out of the apocalypse itself. Get down. A cataclysmic boom detonates, shaking the very foundations of reality. A deafening explosion rocks the ground, then an eerie silence crashes down. Through the choking dust, the silhouette of the world tree looms like a godlike monstrosity against the bleeding sky. Grave and urgent. Others only saw fragments, but maybe Song-woo witnessed the same horrifying truth he did. To work together to stop it. The tree has already planted its roots deep into Yoido Island, and a raid boss waits right there. Jung-hun reveals he saw the whole thing the moment Chapter 2 began. Song Jung-hun, mouth. Fear? This is just another monster waiting to become a corpse under his command. He makes his decision right there. With the fate of the world hanging in the balance, he has no choice but to help. But a flicker of hesitation crosses his mind. Should he reveal the future he saw in the prophecy stone? If he has no choice but to help us become a corpse under his command, he makes his decision right there. With the fate of the world hanging in the balance, he has no choice but to help us become a corpse. Understanding that he's being desperately dark. No, that was a completely different situation. The Grim Reaper's scythe, or if that monster decides he cannot complete the quest, Jung-hun might even conclude that killing Song-woo would cancel the threat entirely. So he locks the secret of the Lich King deep inside and voices his agreement to work together. But he makes one thing crystal clear. He is not joining the guild, and split the raid reward straight down the middle. The prosecutor's eyes narrow, then a razor-sharp smile spreads. This necromancer drives a very hard bargain. Very well, Jung-hun concedes, promising to contact Song-woo. Barrels closer. Seong-woo's eyes dart toward the horizon, kicking up a storm of dust and death. But Jung-hun's voice cuts through the chaos. Calm and assured, this is the perfect moment for Song-woo to see how powerful his guilt really is. Song-woo crosses his arms, watching with razor focus, ready to measure the true weight of this top guild. The raiders charge forward with savage roars, but the prosecutor doesn't even flinch. In just a few heartbeats, the battlefield is about to explode. And the true test of this uneasy alliance begins right here. Right now. All of Wyverns crashes down. This is no soft target. The prosecutor locks eyes with Song-woo and demands to know if he's a necromancer. Then a scarred stranger steps forward, apologizing, but his gaze sweeps the crowd like a butcher eyeing meat. He found a gold mine. Old gangsters. Their cold, casual malice turns the air sick. They've killed humans before, many times. A scarred brute with an iron mace cracks his neck, sizing up the crowd like cattle. Behind him, more muscle-bound killers before anyone else. A scarred brute with an iron mace cracks his neck, sizing up the crowd like cattle. Behind him, more muscle-bound killers spill from reinforced trucks. They've killed humans before many times. A scarred brute with an iron mace cracks his neck, sizing up the crowd like cattle, calculating how to turn these bastards into undead puppets. A defender mage launches a fireball, then an ice spear, a hunter's hawk screeches down. But when a crusader slams his shield and roars, Shield of Faith fills the force field. The spell fizzles, the force field evaporates like mist. The defenders are completely exposed. Devoured every monster and player in their region. An enforcer twirls his iron mace, snarling that nothing can save these tin cans. The mace crashes down with a sickening crunch. A crusader's jaw drops as a chrome doll. Breastplate caved in. Roars for them to step aside or he'll crush every last one. Fear and rage fight in the crusader ranks. Then a commanding voice orders them to fall back. The prosecutor is about to unleash his skill right now. A shaped spear of pure energy with a thunderous cry. The spear cuts a blur through the battlefield, sucking debris into its wake. Boom! The impact annihilates 2 armored trucks, shrapnel flying like demonic confetti, smoke and twisted battlefield down on its head. But then a battered thug scrambles out of the wreckage, spitting curses and blood. He swings his blade in a furious arc, howling storm slash. Everyone recognizes the whirling vortex blades. Legendary weapons no armor can stop, and they can be recalled on command, hunting you down. noticing the insanity. But the prosecutor tilts his head, completely unfazed. He calls them amusing little toys. The thug's face contorts, veins bulging. Toys and toys. He hurls the blades with a savage snarl. The prosecutor snatches them right out of the air with his bare hands. He scoffs, they're barely level 40. He's not even breaking a sweat. The thug's jaw unhinges, his brain short-circuiting. His mouth forms a silent scream as the unthinkable truth sinks in. Voice cracking. The realization spreads fast. The prosecutor's defense scales with every knight in his party. He's a walking fortress, maybe the strongest tank in all Korea. The thugs are utterly helpless. A wounded crusader flinches as the prosecutor's gaze lands on its forehead. Her men's gashes and floods every knight with holy energy. The injured fighter springs up with a renewed battle cry. The heal buffs them with power equal to every point the prosecutor blocked. As long as he stands, they're practically immortal. He bellows for them to finish the enemies. The crusaders charge forward with a deafening war cry. Bodies hit the ground in a chaotic frenzy, just hiding like cowards. Another shakes his head. They're smart to wait until the bloodshed ends. Fighting monsters is one thing, but they've never killed a human, and synergy skills have nasty side effects. A younger man argues he just wants to see how strong the settle is. Peak. Curiosity wins. They creep toward the door. Suddenly, a strange, sickly sweet smell drifts through the street. A thick violet fog begins to slither over the cobblestones. One of the townsfolk stumbles back, breath hitching. Nothing outside the mist. Thing is very wrong. Someone poisoned the whole battlefield. The violet mist snakes through the streets, and allies clutch their throats, crumpling like puppets with cut strings. A silky voice emerges from the fog. He wasn't sure he could trust the wandering salesman, but the abyss concentrated sure works. Towns falled from the devastating. This fight to show off the guild's power to Song-woo. But now it's slipping away. He could block the poison easily, but he wanted a spectacular crushing kill. Then a confused murmur ripples through the survivors. Song-woo steps forward. Call me exactly what the Liberation Guild can do. Then announces that he and his team will take it from here. Perfect match for these bastards. The poison dealer doubles over laughing. Do they know how much the abyss concentrate cost? They must be insane. Song-woo doesn't reply with words. He just smiles and says the exact same poison surging back. With extra juice, his ally whoops an exact same poison surging back. Their compatibility is off the charts. A colossal surge of energy erupts from Seong-woo's position, swallowing the poison fog and the enemy's hopes in one blinding wave. The pressure only grows, the moment holds. The next move feels inevitable. The battlefield waits for what comes out. Then a low growl rises as Song-woo channels the abyss concentrate, swallowing the poison fog. He grins, ready to show the Liberation Guild and the prosecutor exactly what a necromancer's bringing. But the enemy's voice cracks. How is he still standing? But the spirit doesn't answer. Song-woo's retaliation slams him backward with invisible force. The retreating shout barely leaves his lips before a bony hand clamps over his mouth, suffocating his escape. The roof warps under necromantic pressure, and a final womb deadens out of it. Terror and reassurance. Song-woo keeps rewriting war's rules. Their other ally bursts in, startled by the sudden silence. Meanwhile, the undead swarm floods beyond position, dragging down anyone too slow. Shouting for everyone to get back. A blade catches her across the ribs. She crumples with a sickening gasp. A horrified scream tears through the gust, and the world stops spinning, freezing on her collapsing frame. The sickening crunch of blade meeting flesh fills the air, bleeding into every muscle. The assassin gurgles a desperate curse, clutching his bloody weapon, too stupid to realize his death is now a guarantee. Seong-woo's cold gaze drops to the man's hand, so he had the other ticket. Ticket to Hidden Stage, a two-part event token that refuses to activate until both halves unite. A strangled gasp breaks the silence as one survivor spots a sudden golden glow. Sergeant Kim barks a warning, hidden stage incoming. Only the ticket holder can enter, dragging him into a blinding current while his allies can only scream his name. A final grunt echoes as he loses his footing and vanishes into a column of light. Jisoo lunges screaming, her hands stretching toward empty space. But the golden light swallows him whole, sealing shut an instant before anyone can grab him. She is not authorized. Dust and slamming the door on their only clue. Back at the intelligence outpost, a watching officer cannot contain his awe. The necromancer nervously asks permission to stop snapping photos. And the cameraman shrinks into a rigid salute. The officer's voice softens with chilling sincerity. These images will become hope for humanity someday. He warns that wicked eyes are everywhere. They must gatekeep every frame released to the public. A single cold syllable dismisses the cameraman. Hanho with deadly calm, asking if he knows where Songwoo went. No, every instinct flaring with danger. The prosecutor's eyes narrow, his voice softening into a near whisper, inviting Hanho to tell him everything. The war hero's aura wraps around Hanho like a velvet trap, that gentle tone demanding the truth. The war hero's aura wraps around Hanho like a velvet trap, that gentle tone demanding the truth. With hit menace, he wasn't there for their private conversation. Jisoo watches through narrowed eyes, her suspicion a razor's edge. The prosecutor notes her caution, yet she hasn't slammed the door. She and Songwoo already agreed to an alliance, but she's ready to bite. He explains his genuine distress, needing to know if Shang was hurt. But Jisoo's hand clamps over his mouth before the words fully escape. Stands there like a puppet while their leader faces danger alone. Jisoo freezes. The word puppet digs into her pride like a hook. For a split second, her poker face shatters. She steadies her voice and admits all she knows. Songwoo and admits all she knows. Mates. So she'll trust her necromancer and wait. The prosecutor offers a quiet thank you, a word that feels more like a scalpel than kindness. Jisoo keeps her eyes locked on him. A heavy silence settles between them. He charges his fist into the pattern. Wu tumbles through a blinding corridor of light, ripped from everything he was protecting. He crashes onto cold stone, breath knocked clean out as the smell of rust and ancient blood floods his senses. The pressure of a space that has been waiting far too long. Songwoo pushes himself up on shaking arms, the hidden stage already testing his balance. A voice without a body echoes through the darkness. He has passed the first gate. The real trial begins. Stands intact behind him, hollow eyes burning with thirst for victory. Back in the human world, Sergeant Kim stares at the vanished portal and mutters a curse. Feeling a trap closing, military analysts rewind the footage again, struggling to believe one necromancer routed in around him, hollow eyes burning with thirst for victory. Back in the human world, Sergeant Kim stares at the vanished portal and mutters a curse. Feeling a trap closing, military analysts rewind the footage again, struggling to believe one necromancer routed in around his desk with a thud heavier than every war file before it. Hanho stares at the empty air where his best friend stood, remembering the day Songwoo chose the necromancer class. The terror in everyone's eyes, knowing his friend would either save them all or burn the world down. Alone in that trial, Songwoo Yu feels the first new monster stir in the shadows beyond his sight. He draws a slow breath and grins. Whatever this hidden stage throws at him, the lone necromancer is ready to add it to his army. The darkness answers his grin. Whatever this hidden stage throws at him, or whatever walks back out. The silence grows heavier, the pressure building like a held breath. Everyone can feel it. The next move is coming, and it will be inevitable. Hanho whispers a prayer, his faith in Songwoo the only anchor left. Breath, waiting for the lone necromancer to return. Boy gets the report he's been waiting for. Every wounded fighter is back on their feet. But the real mystery gnaws at him. The Abyss Concentrate, a nightmare item dripping with black magic. Does it still act in the Abyss? Concentrated nightmare item dripping with black magic. Does it still act in the Abyss with black magic? Spect is his older brother. A guard activates his exclusive 3-star scouter, and the numbers start dancing. Songwoo's vital signs reveal dark energy pulsing through his veins, like a living shadow. His stats barely budged, but his vitality and manhwa are recharging at abnormal speed. He really agreed to split the boss raid rewards with their necromancer. Choi exhales heavily. He had no choice. That was the only way to convince Songwoo to join the raid party. A sly assistant steps forward, offering to draft a contract heavily favoring their guild. 30,000 civilians depend on the raid party if Songwoo just went on. That was the only way to convince Songwoo to join the raid party. A sly assistant steps forward, offering to draft a contract heavily favoring their guild. 30,000 civilians depend on the raid party. A sly assistant steps forward, watching that sneaky snake finally reveal his true colors. Prosecutor Choi reluctantly nods but warns him firmly, do not turn Songwoo against them. The assistant smirks, promising he won't be branded a bad employer. Then Choi's tone darkens again. What do they make of the prophecy stones? Easier than that. When they first encounter one. But Songwoo, he acted like it was just another ordinary rock. Choi mutters he might be paranoid, but his instincts scream otherwise. He orders them to dig deeper, find out if Xiongwu has ever touched another prophecy stone before. Or shreds the silence, followed by a terrified shriek. Our boy is already storming through a dungeon. He detonates a fallen corpse with a thunderous corpse explosion, spraying golden blood across the chamber. First golden goblins, and now golden orcs flooding the floor. He curses at the sheer absurdity. Own absolute authority. His minions are brutally strong, but right now it barely matters. Fighting has never felt this effortless. He doesn't need to think about his next move. Every strike, every kill, the path ahead is crystal clear. He's locked in a trance of slaughter, breathing in the carnage like it's the only air he needs. Truly alone. He is a one-man army and he's far more comfortable by himself. He's convinced he doesn't need a single teammate, but then a distant voice screams his name. Xiongwu, the shout echoes, cutting through the carnage. But the name barely registers. He's drifted so deep into the bloodshed that even his friend's voice sounds miles away. Back in the cold armor he's built around himself. He admits it to himself, quiet and hollow. It is a little lonely. The words hang in the air, heavy and unfinished. Then something glints in the corner of his eye. 2 treasure chests, one large, one small. He realizes with a cold jolt that no one tried to stop them on the way here. This is a trap, a sneak attack. The chest erupts with a furious roar, wooden planks splintering into a nightmarish maw. The system announces the horror. The event boss monster mimics have been revealed itself. Wood splinters and jagged teeth, and chest erupts with a furious roar, wooden planks splintering into a nightmarish maw. The system announces the horror. The event boss monster mimic has revealed itself with furious roar. With about a boss monster, he bets it has a bite that could crush solid steel. But he's way more powerful overall, and he spots an obvious weak point. The thing has no arms, no legs. It might still move, but it can't possibly be agile. Like an anvil and a hammer. Slow, protected, form a defensive wall, then let the rest crush the boss. Against this many minions, the mimic doesn't stand a single chance. But a sickening crunch echoes. The beast isn't as slow as he arrogantly assumed. A stun, a blur of motion. The mimic's body whips out. A choked gasp bursts from him as the impact crushes the air from his lungs. He coughs and sputters, pain radiating through his ribs like fire. He staggers back, gasping through the dust and agony. The mimic shrieks with ravenous delight. Fresh food. Perfect mistake. He assumed a limbless boss would be sluggish, and now he's paying the price when it had begun so smoothly until now. His minions never questioned his orders, or simply obeys without a word. Hanho Jisoo, he was so unbelievably arrogant to think he didn't need them. The weight of that thought crushes him. He's so ashamed, especially before Jisoo. Shame burns in his gut, like acid. But he clenches his fists. Something inside him refuses to break. He won't give up. A defiant roar tears from his throat as he forces himself upright. But then a chilling thought slithers in. The mimic howls, not from rage, but from shock. Its food is an active land. He has to kill this thing first. Activates in the area. A spectral bell tolls and a black mist seeps from Xiongwu's body. His minions shudder and slow. The werebear's roars turn to whimpers, their strength draining into the necromancer's own veins. He watches his loyal soldiers collapse, their unlikely drinking. He admits it, voice cracking. He has failed them in this battle. The pressure only grows, and the next move feels inevitable. But he's not done yet. Hanho screams as the mimic's jaws gape. Xiongwu's lone skeleton drags itself into the beast's throat and detonates. The mimic's jaws gapes to backwards to mistake again. Alive is all he excels at. A bitter truth settles in. He even abandoned his own family to save his neck. A portal spits him into a ruined classroom turned reward chamber. The interface gleams with treasures, upgrade stones, strength files, help boosts, experience cards. Upgrade stone strength becomes nothing, and its portal spits him into a ruined chamber. Upgrade stone strength vials, health boosts, experience cards, even a panacea and an oath parchment. Juice stats directly into your body. Xiongwu taps the menu. The system chimes. The oath parchment gleams ominously. A contract that binds 2 players to one condition each. Violated, death is instant. Everything. But his points won't buy everything. With a flurry of chimes, the items materialize. Upgrade stone, strength vial, experience card, and the ominous parchment. One final ding. He hopes he chose wisely. Then a blinding rush of power, he hits level 13. All saddles of power, he hits level 13. When he rushes over everything in a second, he'd 3-point agility card. If he'd been faster earlier, that disaster might never have happened. A countdown appears, 15 seconds until forced eviction. A pillar of light swallows him and spits him back into the real world. The prosecutor recovers, laughing nervously. He swears the trip was worth every second, saying he brought a gift. Then he casually asks if they can post their contract and photos on the Survivor forum. Didn't know the forum could handle images. Turns out the prosecutor's class is literally photographer. The prosecutor explains people need a symbol of hope. But Songwoo's mind flags the risk. This much publicity paints a massive target on his back. Nods in agreement. A short grunt escapes him. Hanho drools over the potions. The prosecutor's gift. He gushes at the generosity, but Songwoo keeps his guard up. Trust is earned in blood here. Hanho turns with a knowing glint. Now that they're in the radar party, only one priority matters out. Get stronger than blood here. Hanho turns with a knowing glint. Now that they're in the raid party, only one priority matters. Get stronger than blood here. Hanho turns with a knowing glint. Now that they're in the raid party, only one priority matters. A hulking monster bursts from the tree line, squealing and thrashing, utterly mesmerized by the bait they planted. Arrows punch through hide. Blades flash. The beast squeals its last breath. Hanho delivers the finishing blow with a triumphant shout. 5 monsters down. He shows the item info. Rancid wolf meat, in display's vanity. Joe to put it away. He clutches it like a prized relic. Songwoo mutters it's a failed cooking experiment, but now they know more than one way to grind levels. And Hanjo's dad has set up a sentry post with a defensive buff over their safe zone. It won't fall apart the moment they turn their backs, but a strange alert blares from the system. Something unusual is incoming. A survivor sprints up, breathless, dangerous. Boost and destroying stores cripples everyone's future. The prosecutor orders guards posted at any new stores. Dale snaps a salute. Songwoo notices survivors giving him a wide berth. He frowns. Why are they acting like he's a plague carrier? He kicked that guy Yujin into next week. The girls now call him the Kicker. So while he's a hero online, his local street rep is garbage. Songwoo brushes it off and turns to Jisoo. She gives a fiery nod. She's ready for the next slaughter. He asks him to play the start on him. She calls out, "There's movement." Songwoo's head snaps toward the tree line. A figure shambles into view. Hanho lets out a terrified yelp. Songwoo's eyes narrow. Werewolves. Instinct screams to shoot them down. Shoot! The werewolf is shouting at them. Everyone freezes. Did that fur-covered monster just speak? Songwoo keeps his bowstring drawn because a full frontal charge with fangs bared is now you can finish him with the rancid meat and devours it in 2 seconds. He moans in ecstasy, then his stomach revolts. Songwoo's bow never wavers. He reminds the transformed boy he begged not to be shot. Songwoo's bow never wavers into state. And Songwoo's undead legion. Dakin roars and charges, screaming at the young ones to run as he slams into the skeletal line. He buys them precious seconds, even as steel sinks into his flesh. Songwoo strides through the dust. Cold. Utilizing food they brought made them lose control. That's the only reason they attacked. Songwoo demands to know how they snapped back to sanity. A flash of memory. The quest was brutally simple. Hunt and devour 10 humans. And Songwoo never knew this dark compulsion drove them. He asks if there are more werebeasts out there. Class became beasts. Songwoo clarifies, more in this immediate area. 6 others, our hero connects the dots. They're likely the ones ravaging stores and crowing about a new species. The werewolf recoils, they avoid humans. He sweeps out data, destroying stores to weaken everyone. Songwoo's interest sharpens. An anti-human werebeast league. He scoffs. Mad scientists, they're the real masterminds. Werebeasts only join later, all working together on twisted experiments. The werewolf trembles, his tragic truth laid bare. Songwoo's gaze doesn't soften. That cold silence means the verdict is already sealed. He asks if the wolf is hoping for mercy. A bitter laugh. No, he's been waiting for this moment. He chose nothing, and worse, he forbade his family from choosing too. But his clever little boy secretly picked a class anyway. Probably just because he loved games. The first human he devoured was his own son. He only survives because he lacked the courage to end it. Songwoo's voice is final. He cannot let him live. The wolf accepts his fate, though he murmurs, It's somewhat unfair. The bowstring sings, a heartbake, and the arrow punches, the bowstring sings. Knowing these beings are rational and defend each other feels different. Songwoo cuts him off. Hesitation is a death sentence. Never drop your guard. Families. Songwoo orders them to pursue the young werbeasts that got away. He's not planning to hurt them yet, he just needs to map their territory and numbers. Frustration boils over. This damn system never stops. The system classifies werbeasts as monsters. They can't resist monster bait, and that kill quest proves their programmed nature. Songwoo's voice turns to steel. Coexistence seems impossible. Nearby, they press forward, tracking the scent of the bait to find the escaped beasts quickly. Suddenly, Songwoo signals everyone to hide. Something's ahead. A terrified scream for help pierces the air. Cackling kobolds drag bound worlds like livestock, jabbering about presents for their queen. Body is frozen. He can't move a muscle. Songwoo watches a new threat taking shape. Wait. Kobolds capturing werewolves. It seems impossible. Then a marker flashes into view. A story and a dungeon symbol, meaning the shop might still be untouched. Songwoo decides to investigate. Securing that store could be the key to everyone's survival. They brace for the next nightmare. This dungeon is about to swallow them whole. A system alert. Players, they've entered the Phenomenon Spider. One of the group warns they didn't bring goblins today. They were only luring monsters. The dungeon is rigged to favor its monsters. Someone chokes and collapses, body convulsing. Through gagging, they spot other people trapped inside. A desperate cry for help. Survivor thanks them, but their voice is weak with pain. Another scream, raw with terror. Everyone scrambles back as spider-like horrors burst from the shadows. Attacking from above, Songwoo triggers. The close shadows as the ground moves through a passage of fire. There swarms in. Could the kobolds be working with them? A shriek of pure horror. What the hell is that thing? But Songwoo smirks. They came ready for a fight. He announces it's time to show these bugs what real despair looks like. Hanno's resolve hardens. Right, let's do this. Giant spiders shatter like brittle shells under his relentless blade. One trembling creature squeals that he's the real monster, then stammers SS spiders are technically bugs. He's never felt a fight this easy, roaring as his blade hacks through arachnid after arachnus, leaving twitching opens as the bruise is right here in the desert of shower. That's what shows that he's the real monster. Then stammers are technically bugs. He's never felt a fight this easy, roaring as his blade hacks through arachnid after arachnus, after how far he's drifted from the group. In his mind, only one command blazes. Kill, kill, and kill. The spiders caught those werewolves. He scoffs and strains against the strands, mocking their pathetic strength. A spider taunts back, but its confidence crumbles as the webs snap. More silk pours on, layer after suffocating layer, until he's pinned flat, groaning under crushing pressure. He curses on, layer after suffocating layer, until he's pinned flat. More silk pours on, layer after suffocating layer, until he's pinned flat. Growing under crushing pressure, he curses and thrashes, but the silk only tight. He screams Songwoo's name. A deep voice thunders. Corpse explosion. Corpses around him detonate with a deafening cruel. It rips through the tunnel. Songwoo yanks him free, voice sharp with worry. Hanho's emotions overrode his judgment. Shame burns Hanho's face as he stammers an apology, admitting he got way too cocky. Jisu's warning cuts through the front of the spider's key. Admitting he got way too cocky. Jisu's warning cuts through the front. The spiders keeps flooding in and lossing them. Once blankets the area, gold flashes. 990 coins per giant spider that drops. The notification flood continues until the tide finally slows. Hanho gulps air, asking if they've cleared the entire station. But wait, did they even check the subway tunnel? The next station is blocked. Where's the boss room hiding? At the dead end looms a massive ancient door, caked with cobwebs and dried blood. A foul stench of rot seeps through the cracks, and a low guttural rumble shakes the ground. Jisu's instincts shrieks. Dungeon has already claimed 124 lives. They can take a partial reward if they give up now. Hanho stares, stunned. Jisu echoes the dread, his song with challenging. Ule forward with a calm command. He reminds them the raid they're preparing for will make this look easy. Hanho grins open, sickly green light flooding out. Welcome, players. Songwoo's brow furrows. A kobold shaman, He expected a spider queen, his eyes narrow. Wait, this thing can actually talk normally. The shaman cackles, sneering it's nothing like those other fools. Its secret, it learns speech by devouring 20 human brains. Horror dawns on Songwoo. The system rigs monsters to its nothing like those other fools. Its secret, it learns speech by devouring 20 human brains. Horror dawns on Songwoo. The system rigs monsters to evolve by slaughtering human brains. No escape. Soon, it'll feast on 23 brains. A guttural roar rattles the chamber as the floor splits open behind the shaman. Her many eyes gleam with hunger. Venom drips from her fangs. 2 boss monsters now loom over the party. The air thickens with menace. The shaman raises his staff, crackling with dark energy. The Spider Queen's legs twitch, ready to strike. Songwoo's undead stars over his cavity. The air thickens with menace have just been over the party. The air thickens with menace have just been dark energy. The Spider Queen's legs twitch, ready to strike. Songwoo's undead star is over his command. Just wallows his pride. Kobold shaman chants a low, guttural spell. The Spider Queen's mandibles click. Songwoo's eyes glow with necromantic power as he prepares to command his army. Hanho and Jisoo brace themselves. In this dungeon, only one side will walk away, and the system's warning of 124 deaths hang on the system's warning of deaths. The shaman's grin never wavers. The Spider Queen's many eyes track every movement. Songwoo's undead stand motionless, waiting for a single command. Hanho's breath hitches. Jisoo's muscles coil, they know the first movement of the battlefield. Turning back now, the 2 bosses and the 3 survivors face each other in the dim green light. The system's death toll looms. Songwoo's resolve hardens. Whatever comes next, they will face it together. Through the floor. The giant venomous Spider Queen, fangs dripping lethal venom. Songwoo Yu, the Lone Necromancer, barely throws up an arm as a wave of noxious power slams into his chest. Closer, and his team's window to act is slammed shut. The shaman's sadistic smile sharpens. This monster is smart, and it knows exactly how this trap ends. A piercing screech makes Songwoo flinch, forcing his legs to keep moving every second. He's strong, as if the queen only keeps the finest meals. He parries a claw, groaning as a sudden shift in the air makes his blood freeze. The shaman bellows a command, ignores the small fry, cut down the summoner first. The entire horde pivots towards Songram, and claws zeroing in on one target. Just before they reach him, a shimmering barrier flares around Songwoo, a shield conjured in the nick of time. His physical stats have soared beyond an orc's, so he spawns weapons in his grip, even knowing they might barely scratch a boss. With a bloodthirsty shriek, then a sudden violent convulsion jolts through him, pain like fire, his vision flickering for one terrifying instant. The pack freezes, one tilting its head as if asking, "Is he dead?" A hush falls, then a massive gust of wind, tearing his friend. But as long as they can't kill him in a single blow, he can keep taking hits. Defiant and surging with renewed power, he roars that he is chaos personified. The battlefield trembles at his voice. Every strike his minions land repeats as he snarls that he's getting real tired of this guy. Songwoo grinds his teeth against the agony and drives his body forward. He'll push through every wound, because surrender means losing everyone. With a bloody grin, he taunts the monster, already getting tired. Mindless fools. He won't drag out a pointless battle. A calm, terrible clarity settles over his face as he announces he can think for himself, and that thought has finally led him to a conclusion. Beasts as everything ignites around them. With a brutal command, the shaman conjures fireball after fireball, a relentless rain of flame meant to burn every corpse to ash, so the necromancer can't summon. Songwon Shama, the hand waved with pressure. The battle was turning to cinders, and without them he can't raise a single minion than he expected. Smoke, a familiar figure charges. Jisoo's war cry cuts through the roar of the fire, her weapon flashing toward the shaman's back in a perfectly aimed death strike. Her blade sinks deep with a shank that silences the chaos for one heartbeat. A shriek splits the air, but the shame twists aside, mocking her. A sudden realization flickering in his eyes. Wasn't there one more human? From the shadows, Hanho steps forward with a wicked grin, announcing they've saved their secret weapon just for this moment. The shaman scoffs, calling him a brain-damaged monkey, for thinking those small tricks can even reach him. Smelling meat into the horde, and instantly every monster's head snaps toward the stomach-churning stench. Instinct overrides all reason. They've coated the bait in a special sauce. The item activates rancid round and ranch estate, glaze over, drool spilling from his fangs as he shrieks in desperate, uncontrollable need. While Songwoo distracted the boss, Jisoo and Hanho unleashed zombies and turned them into living bait. Even the hyper-rational werebeasts couldn't fight an item that hijacks their very nature. Hails. Intelligent or not, monsters always crawl back to instinct when pushed. That flaw just sealed their fate. Was in. His body screams danger while his stomach screams food, and the trap clicks shut. Songwoo's voice rings out like a verdict. He's far too late to beg now. He'll pay for every human he ever slaughtered. With a roar of triumph, Songwoo triggers Carp's explosion. The zombies' bodies begin to swell, ripping apart the shaman's monstrous form with the force of every life he stole. A final piercing screech tears from his throat as his body comes undone. The system announces the kill. Boss monster man-eating bat has been slain. Hanho throws his fists in the air, and Jisoo whoops. They've pulled it off again through practice team. Buds into Songwoo, a tribute from the Crusaders reminding him he can hunt any monster and leech power from every party member. He shrugs off first-place rank with a confident edge. He may not be at the top of the leaderboard, but he bets he's even stronger than the one who is, and the player sitting in first place. And how did he level faster than a necromancer who farms death itself? The commander of Korea's mightiest guild feels a cold knot tighten in his gut. A soldier suddenly points at a monitor, hand trembling into a crowd, widen. Blood draining from his face as numbers spike beyond reason. His voice cracks, "How in hell? Y'all pulled this off." The pressure only grows, and the next move speaks out. In the air. But a new horror crawls into the cavern. Songwoo Yu's party barely pockets 300,000 gold when the giant venomous spider queen appears, and his skeleton drinks its mana, transforming into a field of general. Songwoo uses bruise. Its rank skyrockets, attack power spiking hard. Commander traits thicken its aura, turning it into a terrifying field general that tightens its grip over the lesser undead. Songwoo's command capacity expands by 2 more minions. With an army this size is field ready for the raid. First, find the store. Jisoo spots a QD burger sign first, relief crashing over the group, but the clerk's cold welcome and the price tags hit like a gut punch. Hanho remembers platinum cost. Match 3 symbols to win. Earn tokens on losses. Use tokens to manipulate odds. Desperation flickers in their eyes. This gamble could drain every coin they bled for. Song roams, and handheld 300,000 each. He calculates they can juice the system with tokens. Blur. Junk items pile up. Near misses twist the knife deeper. Frustration boils over. Jisoo slams her tokens down, refusing to stop, ready to burn everything for 10 coupons. Each failed spin lands like a physical blow. Mirage. Jisoo mutters at the bizarre item description, exhaustion breaking through. Hanho finally throws up his hands, burning all 10 tokens in one last desperate gambit. Then the screen flashes. A legendary artifact boosting agility by 3 and health by 2, summoning a shadow clone that strikes for 50% damage. A grin breaks through Jisoo's exhaustion. At least she got something half decent. A collection quest pops up for the full relic set, handing over the heroic wind spirit's bracelet. Her face lights up with gratitude. They return buzzing with plans, but the weight of the coming raid presses on every thought. A quiet tension blankets the group. The calm before a storm none of them can predict. Songwoo explains, thoroughly prepared. Hanho catches the look on Songwoo's face and asks if something's wrong. A sinister possibility creeps into Songwoo's mind. The Liberation Guild's test broadcast is live. Over 1,500 viewers. But this broadcast is definitely a weapon to sway public opinion, especially with all the forum gossip about his rise to second place. He's certain the prosecutor is wary of him too. From what he's observed, the prosecutor doesn't strike him as a bad man. But ambition can twist even the most decent soul into making terrible calls. Whose sudden rise has thrown a wrench in them. He might move to keep him in check, like making sure Songwoo walks away with the smallest cut of raid rewards. Songwoo's jaw tightens. He won't let him speak too densient. He points to the ground, the room, radiating calm authority. Second in command of the Crusader team here to pick up the second-place player. He flashes a grin and tells Songwoo to hop on. The ride is waiting. Songwoo to hop on. The ride is waiting to hop on. The ride is waiting to hop on. Liberation Guild. Their members are stationed across every corner of Seoul, tracking every wyvern's location in real time. It's not 100% safe, but they can't sacrifice speed. Song-woo admits a massive guilt has serious advantages that his small survivor group could not prevent alternative to relying on someone else's ride. Once, the screen glows with a twisted competition. Slay the raid boss alone. The Lizardman Warlord's Gladiator's Blessing blocks 90% of group attack damage. It's a one-on-one duel. Winner takes the glory. Jisoo and Hanho exchange stunned looks. Prosecutor or her sister will handle the weird twist. But Song-woo didn't expect this curveball at all. This goes against every raid he's ever heard of. Normally, you need an entire force to bring down a boss that powerful. The whole point of a raid is combined everywhere. This goes against every raid he's ever heard of, and normally you need an entire force to bring down a boss that powerful. The whole point of a raid is combined effort, because someone must have seen the swirl at all. This goes against every raid he's ever heard of. Normally you need an makes group assault nearly useless. Each challenger is supposed to defeat it alone. Neck. Someone is watching them. A creeping dread settles in. Something is pulling strings from the shadows. They've sunk too much into this to back out now. Someone deliberately triggered that difficulty spike. At the worst possible, which means mobs are moving against them from behind the scenes. He'll have no choice but to clash head-on with the prosecutor and the other group leaders. Because Song-woo has absolutely no intention of backing down now. The chapter closes on that resolve. His path is set. No matter how stands out to attract. Bear. They announce a live-streamed raid rallying 1,000 players to Yeoi Island, but Song-woo sees through the publicity stunt. As the chat erupts with demands for the Necromancer to take command, he arrives on the island as dead common gaze, skeleton. His reputation alone crushes the air from the gathering. Gasp. Why, they're really here. Gang Yenli steps forward with a venomous smile, false hospitality dripping from his voice. Song-woo scans the fortified perimeter, clocks every camera, his tone flat and unimpressed. Jisoo hisses that their broadcast rotates all the battlefields in the ship. Turning fighters into props, they've stacked bodies here to flaunt the numbers gap like a naked threat. Gang Yoon's smile tightens as he asks where the Necromancer's army is, genuinely shocked to see only 3 figures. His insult hangs heavy in the air, branding their alliance as weak. Brandy's beggar focused. 40 broadcasting their elite force as a silent flex. Gang Yoon announces with theatrical pride. 31 from his guild, 102 from allies, pure manpower doing the intimidation for him. Whose chest like forged steel. The terms aren't even set, and they're already strong-arming him. Was the prosecutor behind this? Gang Yoon puffs out his chest. Leader of Daihakuro Giraku, the prosecutor's right-hand fire sorcerer. Jisoo mutters recognition. His name haunts forum ranks in songs for Firepipe. Not recognition. His name haunts forum ranks in a Firepipe. Not recognition. His name haunts forum ranks in a Firepipe. Not recognition. His name haunts as it taken out from ranking Firepipe. To keep them on a leash. Song-woo steps forward, voice cold steel. The 3 of them are a unit. Counting heads only proves how terrified they are of what one necromancer can do alone. Jisoo snaps that this is a boss raid, not a war party. Fury crackling as walls close to keeping them on a leash. Song-woo steps forward, voices cold steel. The 3 of them are a unit. Counting heads only proves how terrified they are of what one necromancer can do alone. Jisoo snaps that this is a boss raid, not a war party. Fury crackling a thick warning. Remember Song-woo's class. A necromancer who commands the dead is never truly outnumbered. Hanho's voice hardens into iron. The necromancer's dominance undeniable. Song-woo cuts the standoff short and demands the meeting begin immediately. It circle every glare and folded arm loaded with unspoken challenge. Cameras hover like hungry vultures, streaming every micro-expression to a nation desperate for a savior. Song-woo leans back, fingers steepled, eyes dissecting. It picked up limed uppers, clears her throat. Stepping into the suffocating silence, she introduces herself with strained formality. Deputy Lieutenant of the Crusader team, here to officiate this farce. She lays out the stakes. This raid carries a unique quest. Rewards must be staggering. Liquefied drops and split gold evenly in a clean 12-way cut. A holographic chart slices into existence, carving the prize into a dozen identical slices. The sheer arrogance is staggering, softly descending, having a depth of discussion. They're all in on this. The fix is in. Songwoo feels the trapdoor creaking beneath his feet. Not a single leader voices dissent. The crushing silence confirms the setup. The Liberation Guild's so-called equal split. Different groups, but all answer to one master. And that master plans to starve him out. Manhwa surveys the circle with a cold, satisfied smile, asking if anyone has other ideas, expecting quiet, obedient surrender. The silence stretches like a wire about to snap like a blade. His patience finally shattering, his objection hangs in the air, calm and absolute, slicing through the room like a death knell. Gang Yan waves for him to speak, a delighted gleam in his eye. He thinks he's watching Songwoo stomp a raid on the track. Songwoo jabs a finger at a solo fight. Is to win, takes everything, no debate. Gang Yun's composure shatters into spluttering fury. He accuses Songwoo of hypocrisy, screaming that the necromancer demanded fair distribution. Ice-cold stone. He said fair, not equal, and the chasm between those words is everything. The sorcerer fires back, voice climbing with outrage, demanding to know how this is fair when everyone's strength disappears. Is the necromancer just shopping for a human shield toward the heavily armored Minseok-an with poisonous intent? Minseok-an rockets to his feet, veins bulging, pride detonating behind his eyes. The iron fist of Inchin did not climb the ranks to be degraded as a meat shield. His roar shakes the clearing as he challenges the necromancer to settle it. Right now, this is Minseok-an, 11th in the rankings, a monster-slaying brawler famous for crushing giant beasts with his bare hands. Songwoo doesn't even rise from his seat, and his command to sit down drips with quiet bone-chilling. Many of the people spend a moment or two remaining standing after it, rushing because he knows the cold truth, so he should park himself and shut his mouth. Rage, a guttural roar tearing from his throat as he lunges forward, reason completely devoured by fury. But before his fist can find its target, the ground between them erupts, a skeletal claw explodes from the dirt, backhanding the ranked fighter across the clearing. Like a dumb, this is already far more interesting than their scripted little farce. A stunned hush falls over the clearing as Minseok-an rolls to a stop, gasping in the dirt, utterly humiliated by a single effort power of a true APS predator. But the insult hangs in the air, mocking all of them equally. Gang Yun rounds on Songwoo's vision. 3,800 gold earned from a lizard man kill signals he's already maneuvering 10 steps ahead of everyone. Baiting for more, claiming he's barely broken a sweat, and daring Songwoo to reveal his true minions. A single command thunders from Songwoo's lips, and the shadows deepen with ancient world-hungry power. A massive skeletal drake bursts from the rift, its shrieks spelling in fame. The Death Knight rises behind him, blade gleaming, a legendary terror stepping onto the mortal plane. He gives the order and the undead converge as one. A relentless tide of bone and death hungers far from her. Someone screams for Anne to look out, the desperate edge in their voice betraying how catastrophic his death would be. The broadcast feed cuts to a tactical map of Yoi Island overrun with lizardmen nests. The grim implication settles deep. The entire country teeters on the earth. One, they must stop the fallen ones too. The true nightmare lurking just beyond the current carnage. The fallen ones planting a mutated world tree seed with human sacrifices. Korea annihilated the bad ending every soul here is fighting to prevent. But no one even knows who the fallen ones are. Monsters, players, something infinitely worse. The mystery gnaws at Song's toe. This is why they must secure the island. Because the world tree stands here and losing it means losing absolutely everything. Hano murmurs to Jisoo that at least the prosecutor follows through on his promises, unlike the swarm of smooth-talking conmen circling them like sharks, devouring the feed. And for a single suspended heartbeat, the entire world goes silent. When the picture sputters back to life, the camera zooms in on Yeoudo Park and the unthinkable sight waiting below. Horror floods the chat as viewers process the image. The necromancer is down, motionlessly, and he might even reach the monster before Jung-hun can intervene. The guild leaders erupt in frantic, furious chaos. That damn necromancer just threw their entire meticulously planned operation into utter disarray. Tyr's skeleton erupts from the trembling earth. As Songwoo roars its name, his true trump card finally tearing free of the shadows. The god of death answers. The guildmaster's wariness toward the necromancer is exactly the crack this schemer has been waiting to exploit. The game is already rigged. All 11 raid teams back the guildmaster, so the necromancer is doomed to fall. All he has to do is lie low, wait for the perfect moment to embarrass the necromancer, and watch his own stock soaring. times, and success always drops into his lap like ripe fruit. At least, that's what he tells himself right before the world flips on its head. His mind short-circuits as the Necromancer squad slices through the battlefield like a hot blade. Every calculation turns to ash in his mouth. Who is that woman fighting all alone at the very front? She's carving through enemies like a one-woman apocalypse. And that beast? Its cackling laughter rattles his skulls as it swats away, attacks the tackle fight. New breed of monster? 4 people just transformed into something beyond human comprehension. Locks onto the Necromancer himself, and his blood runs cold. Armored zombies, the undead legion now sports thick, interlocking bone armor that radiates pure menace. The schemer's jaw drops. Songwoo, Jack, high-level power for himself. A pulse of necromantic energy crackles through the squad and bone plating slams onto their bodies like a second skeleton. 50. The archers recoil as a living shroud of bones snaps around them. Wait, we're archers, we dress light. Too late, but the instant the bone armor settles, an archer stumbles and blinks in disbelief. This thing is lighter than it looks. And solid as a fortress. The sun is lighter than it looks. And solid as a fortress as the battlefield of bones snaps around them. Wait, we're archers, we dress light. Too late, but the instant the bone armor settles and blinks in disbelief. This thing is lighter than it looks. Truth. They just made the Necromancer nearly invincible, and he's the guy they're meant to sabotage. A Crusader team member fidgets with guilt and mutters. At this rate, they're actively helping the Necromancer, and his performance reveals the gut punch of Necromancer. Points a trembling hand toward Yeoudo Station. Just past it lies the park, the boss room, and the deadliest prize. Songwoo surveys the flooded battlefield. The water keeps rising. Darkness swallows every corner. And the terrain reeks of a trap. Visibility is a joke, and this cramped death funnel screams for a team-up with the other squads. Hanho and Jisoo brace themselves, certain even the Necromancer can't solo this swamp. But Songwoo just raises a hand for them to stand back. His eyes narrow to slits. Air curdles. Chains of darkness erupt from the earth in a razored lattice. Every hidden lizard man in the tunnel is caught and hoisted like an insect in a spider web. He snaps his fingers and rotting flesh detonates in a chain reaction, tearing from wall to wall his vision as the tunnel transforms into a flamethrower of gore. Ambush is erased in a heartbeat. 3,800 gold per kill rains down. A stunned whisper escapes the onlookers as they stare at the charred empty passage. The swamp path is clear, and the survivors around him stammered that the military desperately needs to update their threat assessment. Crazy. High above, a helicopter slices through the smoke. The very one meant to capture the Guildmaster's glorious moment now barrels straight towards Songwoo. The cameraman's heart hammers against his ribs. This is the miracle footage that'll ignite every survivor's hope. He screams into the camera about the fully armored skeletons and those impossible explosions. Knowing the process of a normal boost is basically established. The process of a normal boost, he claims of bias, but he never imagined capturing a one-man apocalypse. The live chat erupts. Viewers roar that the Necromancer is tougher than the Crusaders, stronger than the prosecutor. A new sheriff in town. The director's phone rang. The prosecutors paid the most of them to make a decision. And the Crusader team's voice boils through the receiver. What do you think you're doing? Turn that helicopter around immediately. The fury in the command is barely leashed. Tilts. A system window tears open, swallowing every scream. Songwoo realizes he's staring at the entity running this nightmare. The figure's lips move, but words slide off his mind. An unnatural calm wraps him, and a gut certainty roots deep in. The state makes up the tensity running this nightmare. The figure's lips move, but words slide off his mind, and a gut certainty roots deep in this nightmare. The voice cuts through, and a gut certainty roots. Confirmation. The entity declares he will witness death with his own eyes. Before he can demand answers, the vision dissolves. Reality slams back like a physical blow, and Hanho's frantic voice hammers his ears. His friend screaming, shaking him, then recoiling when Songwoo solidifies. He vanished for 10 full seconds, and his body was physically taken away. And the quest it gave him is terrifyingly genuine. Death. Witness death. But whose? A cold dread creeps through the sky, rattling his bones. Someone screams. Did the helicopter just crash? Barking orders to Hanho and Jisoo. Get to the boss. Now. They bolt forward, leaving chaos behind. Rises from the scrambling backup team. Crew members stumble, dazed and bleeding. They were in the air and something still ripped into them. A jagged spear juts from the wreckage like a cruel exclamation point. The prosecutor's voice slices through the panic. Cold is fortunate, but the pilot is already dead. The prosecutor's jaw tightens. He tells them to turn grief into rage and charge forward. The livestream number explodes to 17,555. Every eye locked on the prosecutor, hailed as the nation's final pillar of hope. A Crusader veteran rallies the fighters, calling these monsters warm-up fodder. Barking down, the very air warps. A colossal explosion carves a crater. A stunned whisper becomes a roaring chant. That's the prosecutor, the real deal. Steps onto the field. The lizard man warlord emerges with a roar that shakes the sky. Crossbows snap in unison, bolts slicing through the air. The command bellows, lighted up from range. Now, but a system notice flashes cruelly. Gladiator's blessing neuters their fire. Warlord's regeneration is an absolute nightmare. And that mocking grin spreads wider. You'll have to do far better than that. The pressure wave. A scream pierces the chaos. Someone's comrade crumples. The warlord's blade arcs viciously. Another body drops viciously. Another body drops viciously. Another body drops viciously, and nothing. Stand back. Let the Crusader team handle minions. The boss belongs to him alone. He charges forward, spear blazing. He locks eyes with the warlord, declaring himself the only opponent that matters, even in brute strength. But the warlord's massive sword gives it terrifying reach, every swing carving a death arc. Steel rings against steel. The prosecutor smirks coldly. He's faster. He dances in front of the warlord's reach. Closer, even sloppy, he can solo this beast. He rolls his shoulders, easing into a dominant rhythm. Onlookers erupt. He's beating the boss all alone. Hun's name, but their cheers die. Skeletons are pouring in. The Necromancer is here too. The prosecutor slams another cross spear into the boss's hide, yet something prickles. The victory feels wrong. Despite being overwhelmed, the warlord is grinning. A knowing, hungry smile aimed at the heart. The warlord's hiss sounds like approval. It was waiting for this. The force field shatters. Panicked voices scream trap. A deafening shriek splits the heavens. The system delivers the truth. The true raid boss is a wanderer Drake. Has a rude Steph taken? Drake reveals its true apocalyptic form. Its impact shatters weapons and hurls soldiers like dolls. One fighter barely blocks, then a tail sweep, until a long sword intercepts. Jong-hun, the prosecutor, plans him down for a sudden. Hopes that a tail sweep until a long sword intercepts. Jong-hun, the prosecutor, plans him down for a sudden. Hopes that a tail sweep until a long sword intercepts. Jong-hun, the prosecutor, plans him down for a sudden. Hopes transfers a better sword intercepts than a tail sweep. Until a long sword intercepts, then a creeps over the battlefield. Everyone feels the weight of that wound. One soldier whispers it's truly over. The raid leader's voice cracks. He knows he led them into a slaughter. Frustration burns through Song's cracks, drowning out even the Drake's roar. The beast itself halts, its predatory instincts screaming a warning it doesn't understand. Something has changed. And a deafening roar announces his arrival. Wuxi crashes into the fray with unstoppable force. Metal sings as Song Wu's strike connects. One fighter's eyes blow wide. He completely forgot the Necromancer was even part of this raid. Song Wu's name erupts from survivors like a battle cry. Grin break through his despair. Just seeing Song Wu is enough. Everyone begs him to end this nightmare. The Drake answers with its own furious roar. But our boy's attack drives home. Boy unleashes a devastating corpse explosion that rips the Drake apart from inside. The massive body crashes down. For one brief moment, it feels like the nightmare is over. But the twisted carcass doesn't vanish. It pulses with a sickening dark light. Song Wu shouts the dead man around him, a grotesque seed-like horror blooming. The system announces the true name, the young host of Seed. Every soul on Yewi Island is locked inside until it falls. The system window flickers, a cruel smirk in code, twisting the rules just to watch them squirm. Song Wu spots the change in the lizardmen's eyes and roars for everyone to block. A wave of berserk lizardmen surges forward, but a wall of loyal defenders rises as our hero silently puts his faith in Hando and roars for everyone to block away. Stands right in front of him, pulsing with unholy fire. Flames gather in its throat. It's about to incinerate everything. Inferno. It even vaporized its own minions, so ruthless. Songwoo detonates another corpse explosion right in the creature's face in a blinding flash. But the thing barely reacts, hide unscratched. A growl of pure frustration rumbles from our boy's chest. The system delivers a cold notification. His werebears just turned to ash and stopped. For now, he buys time with distractions, reminding himself he can still command the dead. He calls the fallback. Survival first, always. Hano answers with total trust. They bolt, leaving chaos to regroup. The retreat order thunders across the field as soldiers scrambled, but then a figure cuts through the field as John. John is charging straight back into the jaws of death, and swings with precision that defies his missing arm. The beast's snarls have already shifted into something terrifying. Hun parries blow after impossible blow. The beast's roar shakes the earth, and then it clicks. If the prosecutor is here tearing into the Drake alone, that means he kept his word. His voice cuts through the noise, calm and sharp, reminding everyone he warned them not to worry. The creature bellows its fury at the sky. Its gutturals grow out into the Drake alone. That means he kept his word. His voice cuts through the noise. Calm and sharp reminds everyone he warned them not to worry. The creature bellows its fury at the sky, its guttural groan cracking into confusion. Who lost an arm and still came back. A question burns in his chest. The pressure crests into one unbearable wave. And the answer settles like iron in his chest. The blade sings with impossible precision. Another parry clashes with a deafening shriek. The Drake bellows its fury at the heavens. Songwoo's eyes widened. If Jong-hun is here doing the Drake alone. Truth cuts through the smoke with devastating clarity. Songwoo's name thunders across the battlefield and his course is already set. Hanho and Jisoo freeze. That guttural cry sounds almost hesitant. Songwoo's mind flashes to his Shadow King's ring, a legendary ring summoning a shadow clone. The clone pierces the Titan's eyes for 509 damage. The beast wheels, rage zeroing on Songwoo. The clone pierces the Titan's eyes, crack with confusion. Hanho and Jisoo freeze. That guttural cry sounds almost hesitant. Songwoo has... That guttural cry sounds almost hesitant. Songwoo has... More. The shadow clone bursts into smoke, briefly dazing the Titan. Hanho's voice cuts through the chaos. They've always fought together, and that won't change now. The monster locks its blazing gaze and thunders forward. Hanho's voice cuts through the chaos. They've always fought together, and that won't change now, and they won't change now. The man suffering, dry twigs as the boss swipes through them. Songwoo grits his teeth. His army is crumbling far too fast. Hanho's voice cracks as he admits they're in serious trouble. Songwoo watches it ignore the zombies entirely. It isn't eating a single one, and he can't tell if that's deliberate. That means no way to blow it up from the inside. Worse, he can't raise skeletons fast enough. They're destroyed quicker than Handhold and Jisoo can cut down minions. Then, incoming fire broke because Hano and Jisoo are right behind him, fully exposed. A roar tears the air, flames erupt. Instinct screams through Songwoo. He roars a desperate command to create armor. Jisoo's scream pierces the smoke as the fire closes in. Far too close, Songwoo curses under his breath. He's lost most of his skeletons and the battlefield feels emptier by the second. The ground splits as the boss slams its tail down, pulverizing the last bone soldiers. Then Hanho throws himself forward into the air, erupts from Hanho's clenched fists, and the beast collides with it in a deafening crash. Jisoo's blade carves a deep gash across the beast's snout, but the wound only enrages the monster further. Jisoo screams over the chaos. Do they really have to do this? Before anyone can answer, Righty charges forward without hesitation. Songwoo's heart seizes as the beast's claws descend. No, don't do it. The loyal skeleton's bony frame rattles in that final instant. As the devil skeleton's bony frame rattles in that final instant. As the claws closes up, Minion has returned to eternal slumber. Righty crumbles to dust in the air, buying Songwoo a precious handful of heartbeats. A thunderous impact rattles the field. Ready right speed. Just enough recovery to move again. His voice shakes with grief and gratitude. Righty did great. Exceeded every expectation. He locks eyes with the beast with cold certainty. They're the target now, and the space is dead. Believe the necromancer is still standing and refuses to believe it's over. He's fighting until the very end. Then Songwoo's scream rips through the din as the beast's claw tears deep into his leg. Blood sprays across the cracked earth. He can barely stay upright. let alone mount a defense. The beast draws a burning breath and unleashes another fireball, and the world ignites. Songwoo's mind fractures as he faces the flame. He tried so desperately to escape death, yet he's about to die exactly the way his parents did. For one stretched heartbeat, he sees their deaths reborn in the household. At least it wasn't a complete failure. Hanho and Jisoo scream his name as the inferno swallows his silhouette whole. Then, nothing. Just silence. Huh? Surfaces. Am I dead? To be honest, it's a miracle he survived this long. He's been impossibly lucky with money and draws, but luck feels very far away right now. Then a voice cuts through the darkness. Seongwoo, you? Is that really you? Seongwoo's vision swims as he tries to focus. His exhausted mind latches onto a wild guess. Are you the Grim Reaper? See the Reaper's face. He asks flatly if the figure has come to collect him. He doesn't even know if he's bound for heaven or hell. He just says let's go, his voice hollow with exhaustion. But the figure lets out a sharp laugh and teases him. Seriously? You're tired. You're not even 30 yet. Is the Grim Reaper seriously making fun of him? Then the figure's tone shifts, low and heavy with meaning. I didn't come here to see you like this. What? Dad. The word crashes into Songwoo with the first of a physical blow. As a massive, familiar hand pulls his brain out as a boss, I can finally talk to you. The pressure only grows, and the next move feels inevitable. Woo's chest, but a cold needle of doubt stabs through. Maybe the system is just toying with his emotions. He shoves that thought aside. The man is already dead, being crushed in the ruins. He shoves that thought aside. The man is already dead, being crushed in the ruins. He shoves that thought aside. The man is already dead, being crushed in the ruins. He shoves that thought aside, that being crushed in the ruins feels almost peaceful. Yet the idea of an afterlife terrifies him because stepping into that light means for fleeing while the house burned. For choosing his own life, his father's gaze pierces him. The dam cracks. He confesses he ran from sheer terror. Flames devouring everything was a fear worse than death. He trained to never run again. He thought he had matured enough. He thought Songwoo was all grown up, but he's still just a kid who ran fearing his dad's wrath. The old man asks softly how a child could fight that disaster. Songwoo stands up. Followed orders. He commands Songwoo to stop and replay the real memory. Blinding headlights carve through the frozen Heart Guild's master. Loyal guild lackeys materialize from the shadows, panic twisting their faces. This is a death sentence, not an accident. His father's frantic shouts rip through. His mom is still trapped deeper inside. Young Songwoo screams back. Terrified but alive. There's young Songwoo outside, forbidding him to return. Our boy cries out in confusion as his father turns back toward the inferno. That final look over his shoulder is full of fierce promise. He will save his mom, no matter what. Then Songwoo jolts awake in bed. It was all a nightmare. A gasp rips from him. Phantom heat clinging to his skin, deep. Parents like them would never sacrifice their precious son. The truth crashes down. He had completely buried that memory. That is who his parents were. An old faulty circuit sparked the blaze. Seongwoo always carried the world on his shoulder, but his father swears the fire was never his fault. His father couldn't save mom either, so they both failed. His father's eyebrow arches. He doesn't accept that. He saved his son's life, plain and simple. That single act means Songwoo didn't fail anything. Our boy finally accepts it. The truth settled down in the shadow. Father's stance widens. Does Songwoo plan to fight his way back to the living? Our protagonist's fists clench, a fierce grin surfacing. He can't slip away quietly anymore. His father gestures toward the glowing portal with a sad, knowing smile. That path leads straight back to his world. Songwoo is being ripped apart, desperate to stay, but he knows this realm isn't his yet. Woo's lips like a sacred relic. Seeing his father one last time is a gift he'd trade anything for. His father echoes the sentiment, then urges him forward. The people who love him are waiting. His expression brightens as he almost forgets something he does, blows through every nerve. Seongwoo's eyes fly open to a world of agony and stomach-churning chaos. A raw animal scream tears from his throat as his body registers the damage. His comrades' horrified shouts pierce the air. They can't believe he's dying right in front of them. Sergeant Kim reads the resentful glares, doesn't step from his throat. As his restaurant dead serves them, he condemns himself. This is his punishment for pure blinding arrogance. Passive skill. War Hero's aura radiates from his gear, dazing the weak-minded and earning respect. A skill tailor-made to save his skin. Sergeant Kim stares at Song Woo's broken body, their most powerful ally whom the raid selfishly showed. Greed for rewards and failure to adapt mid-battle. He confesses his Song Lu's. Standing idle is unforgivable. A soldier shouts in relief as Song Woo forces his eyes open despite blood loss. He croaks in order to retreat. His body wreckage. Sergeant Kim locks eyes with him, vowing on his life to protect Hano and Jisoo. Then a wall of thick black smoke smothers the sky wreckage. Sergeant Kim locks eyes with him, vowing on his life to protect Hano and Jisoo. Then a wall of thick black smoke smothers the sky wreckage. Sergeant Kim locks eyes with him, vowing on his life to protect Hano and Jisoo. Then a wall of thick black smoke smothers. Unnatural darkness blocks the sun. A system warning blares. A great spirit has been activated. The Drake gurgles and chokes. Cot contains a devastating blow. Battlefield. Desperate hope whispers, is it the Necromancer finally unleashing his power? But the hope dies the second the figure fully rises. Everyone freezes. It's not a Necromancer. It's a full-blown lich. Song Woo's senses the metal, wonders if he's even alive. A cold system voice confirms his resurrection via a special Necromancer feature with a 31-day cooldown. Power erupts through his dead cells. A system window floods his vision. First Stage Awakening right to command colossal monsters as a special Necromancer feature. First Stage Awakening right to command colossal monsters as a special Necromancer feature. With it, a massive bone-white scythe materializes, radiating death itself. Calling himself a lich sounds absolutely perfect right now. The Drake growls, its predator confidence cracking into pure unease. Our man's voice cuts through the chaos. Calling himself a lich sounds absolutely perfect right now. The Drake growls, its predator confidence cracking into pure unease. Our man's voice cuts through the chaos, cold and pretty. Black energy ripples outward as he declares this is Phase 2. The Drake's eyes widen. It finally recognizes the true commander of the dead. And the pressure only grows, the next move feeling utterly inevitable. The air itself trembles before the Grim Reaper's command. Now it's his turn to play death answers to us, and the abyss stares back with Songwoo's grin. The world waits in silence. Tears across the battlefield. Songwoo was moments from death, skill still triggering. Now the Great Spirit blazes to life inside him. That abyss that grinned back shatters. Our boy is breathing, but something far more dangerous has awakened. Destroyed minions resurrect with guttural roars, looping in endless horrifying repair. A soldier shakes his comrade, demanding he witness the impossible. The Necromancer's skeletons refuse to die. The Drake sucks a ragged breath. Rage and terror fighting for control. The Necromancer's skeletons refuse to die. The Drake sucks a ragged breath. Rage and terror fighting for control. The Necromancer's skeletons refuse to die. The Drake sucks a ragged breath. Rage and terror fighting for control. The Drake sucks a ragged breath, tricks, and snarls the command to forge armor. Bone plating erupts across his body just as hellish flames crash against him. In blinding fury, the fire barrels toward terrified onlookers. Jason hurls herself in front of them. But Songwoo's sharp call snaps her attention. But Songwoo's in motion, trusting him completely. Then Hanho tackles Songwoo in a sobbing bear hug, screaming he knew our boy would come through, begging him to never vanish again. The Drake growls low, trembling, demanding to know why the assault stopped. Is limitless, his health never-ending. He locks eyes with the dying beast and promises resistance is futile. Bone armor surges again, plates snapping into lethal intent. A bystander screams at Samada to look away as skeletons take over. And scale give way under relentless bony fingers, the Drake's strength draining with every strip torn. Songwoo turns his gaze to Righty, his Drake skeleton, and issues the final command. Finish it. Righty rears back, hollow eye sockets locked onto its living kennel. Dark lightning arcs through the air. The killing blow lands in absolute deafening silence. The massive beast crashes to the ground, reign of terror extinguished. Victory belongs to death, and death obeys only one master here. A soldier drops to his knees, stammering its final open. He can't believe what he witnessed. They always knew Songwoo could pull off the impossible. Our Necromancer exhales slowly, adrenaline settling into cold satisfaction. He beat the boss. Now a new possibility unfurls with the words that will change everything. Come to me. The air around the Drake's corpse twists up the top of our necro, title tearing from his throat. Commander. The Drake's skeleton rises, hollow sockets burning with ghostlight allegiance. Songwoo now commands the very monster that nearly massacres them all. Then he sees it, a seed pulsing with ancient light among the remains. The seed of the world trees it. That terrible vision of an undead apocalypse. The seed is connected to that nightmare ending, which means this divine item is exactly what those mysterious fallen ones are hunting for. A reporter scrambles forward, begging the necromancer for a comment. Understanding. Every leader who gathered survivors turned out incompetent. The system constantly tests groups with brutal challenges. An explosion rocks the earth in the distance near Yonggyeong posting. Black smoke churns upward. The breath of the abyss signature. The gang behind those weapons is making their move. Home base. Panic ripples through the crowd. Most inside are civilians, and the prosecutor is in no condition to handle this alone. Songwoo's jaw tightens. He knows exactly who's likely behind this. He locks eyes with Jong Hun. They need a serious talk. The deputy lieutenant shout, so the Liberation Guild already knew about these monsters. The wandering salesman? That twisted alliance of werebeasts and mad scientists. Their gas attacks were diluted. For range, blanketing, the entire station, the Crusader team is powerless. Songwoo decided, voice tight with recognition. It's them, isn't it? That anti-human league of werebeasts holds true. These monsters are about to become their greatest nightmare. This attack on Yongdong Post Station means Suwon is vulnerable too. They're still not. That anti-human league of werebeasts holds true. He needs to hunt them down, unmask who they really are, and end this threat at its root. He turns to the newly risen Drake skeleton towering behind him. This will be your debut battle. The Drake skeleton lowers its skull, ready. The undead army stands poised behind Songwoo. In the distance, black smoke continues to churn. The inferno at Yongdong Post Station calls for hangman. Songwoo's gaze hardens. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The abyss has found its master, and the hunt begins now. Bearbeast's arrogant brag hangs in the air. The monster mistakes him for a helpless survivor. He doesn't realize death is already breathing down his neck. He wants to know how much longer the ritual will take. His companion grumbles that it's up to the sorcerers, whining about brain-eating freaks lording their power over everyone. The werebeasts sprawl among the terrified captives. Their arrow's own experience is an arrow from brain-eating freaks. The sorcerers want their corpses when they die, to brew twisted potions from their remains. Another beast perks up greedily, already scheming to ask for a taste of that potion himself. But before he can even finish the thought, ends in a wet gurgle. The greed never leaves his lips. Songwoo's kill notification flashes. 3,000 gold pocketed without a second thought. A second brutal strike lands true, sending a werehog's soul into oblivion. Add a werehog's soul into oblivion, adding another 3,000 kilometer flashes. 3,000 gold pocketed without a second thought. A second brutal strike lands true, sending a werehog's soul into oblivion. Adding another 3,000 kilometer flashes through oblivion, adding another 3,000 kills, already counting the next targets. He mutters about the empty streets above. Every filthy bastard is crammed right into the station. And then his eyes land on something that makes his blood run hot. Hangs, a ritual circle pulses with a dark promise. The sight confirms his suspicion instantly. They've been gathering survivors here instead of slaughtering them in the streets. Songwoo takes stock of his stats. Cold certainty settles in. He is strong enough to hunt werebeasts alone, preparing a silent ambush to pick them off one by one. The sickening crunch, his body crumbling into Songwoo's waiting hands. He drags the limp corpse into the shadows and steps into a chamber that steals the breath from his lungs. Rows of unconscious survivors lie at his feet, like discarded cargo. He's 200 people crammed onto this floor alone. The beasts chatter casually nearby, confirming there are just as many captives piled up on the other floors. His jaw tightens as they discuss using these bodies for experiments. One brute admits he doesn't know or care what the researchers are saying. It's from the captives. The sheer insanity of the idea sends a chill through the room. Is that even possible? Can they steal levels from living humans? The question hangs in the air, and the answer is about to come, with devastating force. If they can turn into monsters, anything's possible. Another admits he always felt like a rat anyway. so living as one suits him fine. Then the system shatters their laughter with two chilling announcements. The Great Spirit and Death's response has both been activated in the same area. Panic explodes through the worker's eye. Panic explodes through the worky reefs at their throats. The warnings are no glitch. A crushing wave of killing intent floods the air as Songwoo stops hiding and unleashes his monsters. Awer Beast shrieks, finally recognizing the true monster in their midst. Descend, chaos erupting in every shadow. A captive gasps awake, blurting out in sheer confusion at the nightmare unfolding before his eyes. Skeletons and monsters swarm the scene, and another prisoner could only stammer in disbelief. A pitiful squeal escapes a werbeast. A pitiful squeal is not necessarily bias for charging, only to meet a skeleton's blade with a wet and final grunt. The floor becomes a slaughterhouse, but the real battle is just beginning. But another werbeast smashes the skeleton to pieces and returns it to eternal slumber. Then a level 2 werbull bellows a challenge into the darkness, demanding the necromancer reveal himself face to face. Silence answers him, then a cold whisper of steel. And Songwoo's voice cuts through the dark, calling him a cowardly bastard for hiding behind gas attacks. Our hero spits back at the corpse. Spraying helpless prisoners with gas is the real cowardice. The kill reward flashes, and Songwoo's eyes widen. 2 werbull. The pieces click together instantly. Conscious werbeasts must use a different leveling system, and their heads are worth 10 times more. A bitter smirk crosses his lips as he mutters about having a real monster on his hands now. But then the floor trembles beneath his fist. Below, its hunger coiling around Songwoo's spine like a serpent. Every instinct screams at him to run, but his will hardens into iron. He stands his ground. The next threat is already rising from the depths. Even 4 high-quality potions can't stop Songwoo's trembling. Death's grip already closed around his throat. Only sheer will keeps him standing. Hanho whispers in disbelief. No living man should break free from that killing intent. Yet Songwoo does. Entire structure buckling inward as concrete chunks rain down. The system announces the raid boss, an ogre gladiator towering and bloodthirsty. A voice cackles from the shadows, planning to let Songwoo exhaust himself before striking. Rift steps a towering death knight, Minseok An resurrected and bound. Rage still burns in those hollow eyes, now aimed at the enemy, deep into its shoulder. The shockwave sends debris flying, watching soldiers gasp in unison. Songwoo watches his undead minion tear into the beast, a glint of pride sparking in his eyes. A soldier roars for him to finish it. Monster against monster surge through his veins, more ferocious than the battle itself. He vows to become so powerful he stands alone. No crutch, just absolute dominion. The system hits Songwoo with a cold notification. His minion has been annihilated, erased beyond any hope of resurrection. He mutters under his breath that this boss is truly on another level. Frustration flickers as the drake's fire breath proves useless through the ground, and the ogre charges, fury igniting its massive frame. The Death Knight advances, each step a drumbeat of inevitable doom. He's still got the upper hand. The ogre's growls deepen, anger giving way to fear. A final groan signals the turning tide. The Death Knight drives the ogre gladiator into a corner. Seongwoo's cold smirk tightens. He knows the killing blow is seconds away. It rasps, then a wet gurgle, and the titan crashes to the ground. Gold floods Songwoo's inventory, 705,000 pieces, and he ascends to level 16, revealing a guaranteed skill. Death's response. His rank climbs to experienced, letting him summon 15 masterless zombies from the abyss. Temporary soldiers that don't count against his limit. But the real prize is a new authority. Command over the dead themselves. Got a heroic item that consumes all mana. He decides to hand it to his Death Knight instead. Then impossibly the fallen ogre gladiator twitches and rises under Songwoo's command. Jaws drop among the onlookers. Werewolves with a darkly playful threat. Suddenly one werewolf drops dead. Gold spills into his inventory from a kill he didn't make. Someone shouts in alarm. The werewolf held vital intelligence. The authority he was just granted pulses insistently. He can view the memory fragments of the deceased. He presses his palm to the corpse. Lab, cages, the scent of chemicals. His jaw tightens. The conspiracy runs deeper than anyone guessed. The party watches him, breath held, as the dead spill their secrets. Songwoo mutters that the system is guiding them towards something just like the vampire area manager they faced. Static crackles from a forgotten radio. Shut off that phone. They're stepping straight into enemy territory. The group melts into the shadows, moving like ghosts through the ruined streets of Sindorum. Two werewolves bicker in the dark. One calls the other Mr. Handsome Wolf and gets snapped at. The younger one presses on. The attack on Yongdoing Po isn't just about crushing the Liberation Guild. The elder plays dumb, but his eyes betray him. The young gold opens is the perfect chance to wipe out. But the words trail into silence. The shadows hold their breath, and Song Woo's grip tightens around his necromantic power. To do it, right here, the main transfer station between Seoul subway lines 1 and 2. The daily crush of bodies made it the ideal hunting ground. Now the entire station crawls with test subjects, ripe for the taking of the battlefield. A researcher's sickest in silence is made real, and rot. Cages stacked floor to ceiling with broken humans and weeping werbeasts. One researcher snaps at a subordinate, a were-rat mocking his heightened senses. The were-rat stammers he never chose this cursed body. Just the were-rat volunteer for new experiments. The word test subject lands like a blade. The were-rat's heart plummets. Scientists always test on rats first, don't they? The researcher presses with mock sincerity. Does he really want to stay away from new experiments? The were-rat's heart plummets. Scientists always test on rats first. Don't they think that they're becoming blade? The were-rat's heart plummets. Scientists always test on rats first. Don't they think that they're becoming blade? It only changes well from mock sincerity. Underling bursts in, screaming about trouble outside. A dinosaur is tearing the building apart. Little Drake slams its tail through concrete. Debris rains on screaming researchers who scatter like roaches. The director sighs with theatrical calm and orders the were-rat, Mekiteo, to lead the way. They tear through flickering corridors while the Drake's assault crumples walls around them. A muscled Drake skeleton looms before them with eerie green fire blazing in its eye sockets. The director shouts it must be connected and roars for everyone to get back. Shock seizes the group. To chaos, a lone figure glides through smoke and debris completely unseen. Researcher, and slips deeper inside. The rampaging Drake gives him the perfect distraction. Not a single soul glances his direction. Then a voice barks at a rat lackey to move. The speaker jolts as an unfamiliar sentence, while the director shouts orders, only to choke mid-sentence when that strange smell hits him again. The director wheels around and shrieks. They're in danger, just as his henchman collapses with a gurgle. Whirling in terror, he finds a stranger standing in his lab. Songpiece shows up again. The gurgling stuffed comes out and screams of earth. He's the one who sent that enormous monster. The sound of 3 souls screaming echoes in the distance. Songwoo's gaze rakes across blood-spattered notes and grisly instruments, and a dark, cold understanding settles over him. Yeah, now he gets it. He asks if that's what he thinks it is, spelling it out. They sent the package to the wrong address, as he registers both human and werbeast corpses. The truth from the werbeast file now laid horrifyingly bare. These people are truly evil, running sick experiments on living creatures like disposable toys. A quiet relief washes through him. He's grateful Jisoo and Hano doesn't have the merit. That this was unexpected, then twists the reveal. Is Seongwoo embarrassed to have discovered their so-called hobby? Outraged, he shrieks at being called disgusting. A brainless creature like him couldn't possibly understand. They're advancing human science to the next level. His ego shrieking through every syllable. Songwoo's patience shatters. He roars at the lunatic to stop yapping. For someone who fancies himself an intellectual, he sure has a filthy, rotten mouth. Cold fury hardened Songwoo's gaze into something lethal. Now it's time to deliver a sentence far worse than death. He served well, but now he'll be repurposed into something far more useful. Necrotic energy lashes out and snuffs his life in a single heartbeat. His corpse crumples to the floor. Seonwoo reaches down to pull a ring from the dead man's twitching finger. Its dark power hums in recognition of a new master. Very rank, boosting agility and health while summoning a shadow clone that deals over 500 damage from darkness. But a mutant were-rat bursts forward with a roar. An agonized shriek answers it. Songwoo notes the creature's attack power just spikes dramatically, yet somehow there is an offing that him whatsoever. With a final blow, gold floods into his possession. 13,000 for defeating the mutant were-rat. On his way to lab director, he refuses to die like common vermin. Another death cry rips through the lab. Songwoo's voice drops to something cold and deliberate. The The director's ankles and lower body will follow if he doesn't want to end up butchered like his own test subject. His coat, and yanks out a vial, choking down poison with a sick, defiant grin. He rasps that he sent that beast specifically so he could poison himself. His colleagues will have a field day, but Songwoo's rack his body, but Song's help. The battlefield is not that beast. The moment that would change is that that beast is perfectly so. Never find out, because Songwoo intends to turn him into a minion and rip through his memory. Can Songwoo truly turn a living creature into a minion? A final choked gasp, and it's over. Songwoo mutters he's had enough of these little tricks. He senses dragging this out will cause more headaches. The director's spirit shrieks for mercy, offering cooperation and eruption. View the memory fragments of the deceased. The spirit groans in defeat, so the question forms from the shadows. A commanding voice asks if he wants to be made director of a regional lab. The reply drips with dark satisfaction. It's time he earned his doctorate, becoming leader of a whole division. That's the man behind all this. Much gas as possible. Is this the head of the wandering salesman? The pressure only grows, and the next move feels inevitable. Nothing changes immediately, and the scene lingers for another uneasy beat. Dumping poison across Yongdang-po to cleanse every insect, he wants rabies sorcerers to teleport 3 captured raid bosses straight into the city. Songwoo and his group freeze. The intel hits like a truck, 3 bosses in chains right now. Beasts. The plan collapses. He declares the 4 beasts superior to even the top 3 ranked players. Songwoo's mind races. How can he be so certain? He knows beasts never drew cards, wasted days clawing back to consciousness. From his battle-hardened experience, there's no way they've surpassed the highest-ranked humans. Hoon escapes his lips. Jong-hoon processes aloud. Beasts aren't human, so they might level up differently outside the player system. He's dead certain that beasts and scientists received exclusive quests. A golden window to rocket ahead. The loophole could shatter everything. Cold blade. The Evolutionary Society has been gaming the system from the start. A fanatical underling drools at the thought of strapping down anyone stronger than a top ranker and brewing potions from their remains. His greasy-haired devotion fixates on Yoi Island's new human race, connects to their secret exclusive quest. Suddenly, a nervous lackey realizes he's interrupted a private conversation, laughing awkwardly. Then Songwoo's eyes lock onto the massive white werewolf he's seen before. This creature holds immense rank. The name drops that phrase away. It likes like a bomb from facing awkwardly. Then Songwoo's eyes lock onto the massive white werewolf he's seen before. This creature holds immense rank. The name drops like a bomb. The ground sorcerer 34 beasts stands revealed, pinning the group under an aura so heavy it threatens to crush their lungs. He mocks Kwang Su's assumption. People see the staff and scream sorcerer. Then suddenly speaks Kwang Su's name. Shadow is Noah's name. Bones snap, flesh tears in a lightning-fast transformation. He sheds his robe, revealing a monstrous true self. A stunned hung echoes as the revelation sinks in. Static screams through the connection and a guttural groan of interference. The chaos. What is this interference? A warning flashes. Caution, psychometry interference. His necromantic probe is being jammed. A chilling voice cuts through. A single puzzled probe sensing the intrusion. Then the voice addresses him, directly to the battle. Songwoo Yu, the necromantic probe sensing the intrusion. Then the voice addresses him directly. Songwoo Yu, the necromantic probe sensing the intrusion. The battlefield card overruns, and science's Undung-po is one thing, but tracking the Cinderum branch this fast must be a very unique skill. He sneers in disgust, never expecting such a devious trick slipped under their noses. So the necromancer can read memories of the dead. A grave violation of their secrets. Sense now. Their real main base lies elsewhere. Zero confirmation but infinite arrogance. The cold command follows. Stay out of their way and abandon Yongdoing-po. Because dragging this out only delays inevitable victory. The air grows venomous as the voice spits the final insult. Our boy is nothing compared to their might. But with steel in his voice, Songwoo demands their identity. The Evolutionary Society, a name meant to be etched into his nightmares he has already conquered. The dread settling deep in his bones, the man with slicked back hair revealed the whole scheme. 3 raid bosses summoned in rapid succession to crush Yongdoing-po. Even though the first monster failed to drop, Hanno knows they'll quickly adapt our plan. Geometry too. What a pesky, terrifying enemy. He senses something amiss, calls Yaro's name. Did the little scout sniff out another clue? A blood-stained document unfolds across the table. Not an ordinary map, but a full schematistic railway lines. A symbol highlights Sosa in Bushan, peeling back layers of a coordinated military-style invasion plan. Yui Island, a visual scream of where the raid bosses are being positioned. Our hero's fingertip slams down on the final marker. The grim math becomes clear. One more raid boss remains operation, which means another entire branch of the Evolutionary Society is likely huddled right there, so waiting to spring the trap. Remaining threat settles like ash over the group. That looming dread pushes Seongwoo into immediate motion. The clock is ticking. His fingers fly across the message window, demanding John Hun scour the forms of retaliation. Will do. Blow. Yongdingpo Station is set to be attacked again. Songwoo names the enemy the Evolutionary Society and reveals their true target is not the Liberation Guild at all. Jung Hun's shock morphs into confused rage. He has never even heard of this society. Why are they being hunted mercilessly now? Freezing Jung Hun's blood. His voice trembles as a dark theory rises. Yewi Island. Could those monsters actually be the fallen ones? Songwoo stays rigid, admitting no solid proof does. Just a cold, sinking hunch. Jung Hun's fist clenches. Proof is meaninglessly when the bastard's already struck first. Unexpected question. Can Songwoo be hired? He needs the Lone Necromancer to protect Yongdu and Po with his life. The only man he trusts to resist their terrifying abyss power. Sears deeper with every passing second. A whispered promise of doom. The screen flickers and the walls literally close in. Seongwoo knows he must act fast before that monster grows stronger. He spots Jizu, alive. But relief is just a breath before the next monster. Abyss. A player-created jar that unleashes an abyss breath of 3,490. The creator's note chills the blood. Have you been wronged? Just leave it in their locker. Minhyam puffs out his chest. Introducing himself as the new locker, Minhyam puffs out his chest. Oh admits Jisoo shed a few tears when Songwoo died. Songwoo smirks. Are you sure it wasn't you? Hanho laughs, swearing he only cried for Righty, and shamelessly asks to inherit the skeleton if Songwoo dies again. That cursed name slices the air again. Dr. 000. Still owes a massive debt. 1,000,000 gold won't sweep this mess under the rug. He hangs his head, admitting he charged into that boss raid like a reckless fool. Ignoring the minions, if word gets out, his reputation shatters. Guiltier than what's reputation shatters? Guiltier than minions. If word gets out into that boss raid like a reckless fool, it gets into the apocalypse, can't afford regret. Yua Ulleville then stabilizes into an exclusive Crusader Commander quest. He knows these awakening quests are brutal tests for 4-star and 5-star players, and he must complete it before anyone else claims victory. Only 14 remained. Grinding 16 more to level 10 feels like an eternity. The quest sits on his chest like an axe blade. But one thought burns brighter. Songwoo has already cleared his own awakening. A bitter taste floods Jongwoo's mouth, but it ignites his chest like an axe blade. But one thought burns brighter. Songwoo has already cleared his own awakening. A bitter taste floods Jongwoo's mouth, but it ignites fire on his way. But it ignites fire has already cleared his own awakening. A bitter taste floods Jongwoo's mouth. Gasang. Hunting tomorrow. No excuses, the soldier balks. Repairs will drain their numbers. Jung Hun's eyes turn to steel. Wasting resources on repairs invites another devastating attack. They swear they are Korea's greatest guild. Yami, the pledge rings out like a hammer. They will never lose again. Then a radio crackles. Minhyam's voice buzzes through. His team dug up the intel Songwoo requested. Sosha in Buchan has an ogre gladiator left over from the last calamity. Songwoo's brow furrows. No whisper about this since Chapter 2. Someone is burying the information. He presses harder. What about Byamgae Station? Minhyam's voice trembles. Byamgae Station. Minhyam's voice trembles almost his eyes. The passages are crowded. What about Byamgae Station trembles? As Byamgae Station rambles, Byamgae's drowning is grounding. It has always been transparent. Someone is burying the information. He presses harder. Whose gaze cuts to a young survivor glued to a battered phone. A flickering map of Byamgae glowing on the cracked screen. He mutters about the smartphone, and then the pressure only grows. The next move feels inevitable, but nothing change is uneasy. It repeats again and it negates. The tension strengthens us, but everyone feels it. Something terrible is about to break. There's about the smartphone. Nothing changes. The scene lingers for another uneasy beat. Silent moments pass. No words, no movement. Yet the weight of the inevitable presses down harder. Each second feels like a countdown. The story holds its breath, waiting for the next disaster to tip the scales. The situation holds for a moment longer. Silence stretches. No new information breaks through. But the audience can feel it. The next move is already in motion. The calm before the storm tightens end. Phone. The moment stretches on. Then another silent beat, and another. The inevitable looms. Unavoidable. Songs of Sean jided over in Toho. The inevitable looms. Unavoidable. Songs of stairs and zombies in Beyonce. Doctor. 000. Still leveling in the shadows. With a bang. But with the unbearable certainty that the next move is already here. Shatters the instant Seongwoo strides through the gates. Relief replaces panic as their symbol of justice returns. But Han Ho's grinning explanation cuts deep. He's been demoted to gold farming, while Songwoo hunts his real threats. Until Han-ho folds his arms and declares being left behind is absolute proof of trust. Introducing Righty, the skeleton Songwoo personally entrusted to him. It's to nothing before their eyes. The crowd lurches forward, desperate, clueless. The destination slams into focus. Hospital University, a corpse-cold dead zone humming with unseen horrors. A kid's voice rings with awe. The necromancer is here. Songs break and she's grown far too comfortable with death's stench. Everything they've survived. He knows next to nothing about Uasel's past. Heavy silence stretches between them. He breaks it. Does she think she'll ever return to her old life? She's not sure she could. Going home wouldn't change anything anyway. Bitterness leaks into her voice. Her family was domineering and overbearing. She's not sure she could. Going home wouldn't change anything anyway. Bitterness leaks into her voice. Her family was domineering and overbearing. She couldn't wait to escape. The moment she clawed her way to freedom, the whole world collapsed. And until a man steps forward apologizing for the wait. Minseok An. Songwoo clocks him instantly as the leader. Minseok lights up. He already knows the necromancer. Then he gestures to Jisoo and calls her the Red Demon. She fires back a sharp pardon. He scrambles to Jisoo and calls her the Red Demon. She fires back a sharp pardon. He scrambles to explain someone slapped on. He scrambles to explain someone slapped on opened and Denman steps over, while surrounded by undead makes her look like an actual demon. A dangerous little smirk plays on Songwoo's lips. Red Demon, huh? Endless gratitude he must ask them to leave. A stunned breath escapes the room. He reveals the brutal truth. Zombies have crashed against their walls nonstop for 3 days. The group's strength is completely tapped. Songwoo's voice is hardened. Why didn't they flee or call for help? Jisoo already knows they're trapped by another damned quest. Songwoo's eyes. The system's sadistic trap tightening around more helpless souls. Because reckless altruism bleeds the strong dry. Every crisis throws protectors into the meat grinder. Now they've hit rock bottom. Minseok begs them to listen. If they don't want this suicide mission, flee before midnight. But his trembling eyes between them, obvious. He's lying, desperate for them to save his people. Songwoo's expression doesn't waver. They came to help Byomgae Station. Tears explode from the crowd. Scrambles to arrange a room. Then, with innocent intent, asks if they'd like to share one. Instantly, our flustered heroes scream for 2 separate rooms. Composure shattered. Arrangements made. Soon, a tiny hesitant knock. The door bursts open to reveal starry-eyed children. The necromancer is real. The Red Demon Lady is a man. Songwoo's face softens. Only one skeleton fit for an audience of kids. He summons Righty. Righty launches into a clumsy jig and delighted laughter bounces like sunlight off every dark wall. Tiny fingers tap against ancient bones. Sheer terror transforms into sparkling joy. A rare, aching warmth floods Songwoo's. Tiny fingers tap against ancient bones. Sheer terror transforms into sparkling joy. A rare, aching warmth floods Songwoo's. Sheer terror transforms into sparkling joy. A rare, aching warmth floods Songwoo's. Someone makes it for real. Right's kids actually smile feels like stumbling upon a miracle oasis in this nightmare. Darkness swallows the building as midnight creeps forward. A panic shout announces the quest window's arrival. A blood-red system panel rips through the air, blasting cold venom across the room. Song-woo clicks his tongue in disgust. Jisoo's nerves scream warning. Something massive shifts across the entire city. Deep vibrations thrust peaks up on the earth. Sound erupts, the chaotic skittering march of countless dead feet. Minsok screams. The zombies no longer respect the indoor boundary. Everyone is now prey. Sooner than anyone braced for. Minseok's voice cracks as he spots zombies swarming from every side. Songwoo, our necromancer, stands with cold fury, but ghouls are a different nightmare. The group rushes to send non-combatants to the rooftop. Every window, barricade that door. A guttural, undead roar rattles the building. They count at least 200 shambling corpses charging. Songwoo grits his teeth. The cramped space chokes his summoning, no room for big skeletons. He announces they need to move out. Planes fighting inside will drag on until everyone collapses. They'll carve a bloody path outside. The ally places every shred of trust in him. A sly smirk creeps across Songwoo's face. Too bad for the Horde. Corpse explosion won't track her on anyone, he sobs. They'll carve a bloody path outside on shore, so he promises to unleash a real monster, one that truly doesn't know the meaning of death. Down, shaking debris from the ceiling like thunder. A synergy notification glimmers. Equipping 10 shields triggers shield charge, granting crushing strength and knockback. The ground keeps trembling as the Horde closes. The system chimes coldly. In presence of deaths, trashes down. Shaking debris from the ceiling like thunder engines crash. The ground keeps trembling as the Horde closes. The system chimes coldly in presence of death's true power. All low-level undead stats plummet by over 300. It was the cruel truth. A single zombie bite turns you. Minsok himself had to put down friends. But skeletons feel no pain, carry no infection. They simply fight. Songwoo roars for them to keep attacking. A knight ally bellows force of courage. Glowing with valor, he spins into Whirlwind Blade, calling a comrade to follow. Ender. Knight class. Easily 3 or 4 stars. Pull back immediately. They retreat, forming a tight defensive line. Our boy mutters that taunting zombies feels ridiculous, but still, he dares them to block his skill from beyond the grave. With a flick of his wrist, he channels corpse explosion. The air itself crackles with death. Entrance explodes in a visceral blast. That devastating skill wipes the doorway completely clean. Smoke clears, revealing a path forward, but outside it's crawling with even more undead, no matter how many they kill. The Horde never thins. Hand over everything. Entirely new tactical possibilities. A system warning blares. The Great Spirit has been activated in this area. An enormous primal roar echoes. It rattles every window of the Drake, and rattles every window. Over the street, everyone freezes, caught between the endless zombie horde and this new titan. For a long moment, nothing moves. Only the growl of the beast fills the air. Sensing the Drake's overwhelming presence. Songwoo's eyes narrow. This could be the turning point. But what does the Great Spirit's activation mean for them? Thunderous roar, aimed squarely at the undead. The ground trembles. Whatever happens next, the battle is about to escalate beyond anything they've faced. No one dares to move. Songwoo clenches his fist, ready for whatever comes next. This is the calm before the storm. And the storm is coming. Buying them time, he bellows his own name as a war cry and hurls himself into the chaos. A father's desperate fury blazing in his eyes. Guttural snarls answer from every shadow, the stench of rot flooding the air. A survivor screams at the abomination, spitting the word monster. Then a sharp warning rings out. A ghoul lunges over the air. A survivor screams at the abomination, spitting the word monster. Then a sharp warning rings out. A ghoul lunges for Minseok's exposed back. Claws can land. She cleaves through the ghoul in one decisive stroke. Then shock ripples through everyone. The wound begins to knit itself shut, flesh squirming before their disbelieving eyes. Songwoo steps forward, his voice dropping into cold circums. Songwoo's behind his mouth. Grim Reaper's scythe materializes in Songwoo's grip, an hourglass timer already bleeding seconds. Dark energy crackles along the blade, humming with hunger for death. The Lich's power floods into him all at once. 50 more minions, every stat surging. He'd planned to save this ace for later, but the crisis leaves him no choice. commanding it to sink its claws into the others. Skeletal hands rip from the ground as another ghoul falls, gold and a fresh servant pumping into his growing legion. A shimmering barrier erupts outward. The wall of bravery deflects a lunging ghoul. It's brutal and clean, targeting joints and tendons. His form isn't polished, but raw instinct and sheer grit close the gap on Junhan's level. This time he will not fail. A vow scorching into the air that he will not let another soul fall. The tide is shifting, but the grim arithmetic settles over him like a shroud. Not everyone will survive this flood of claws. Only 3 fighters can truly face this onslaught: Jisoo, Min-seok, and Sonwoo himself, the Horde. A terrible mismatch against these twisted ghouls. The line holds only because desperate parents throw themselves at death with the strength of pure love. A father swings a pipe, roaring curses, refusing to let his family be torn apart. He shoves a ghoul backward, but the monster swats him aside like a rag doll. Jagged teeth, gets ruck, flood through the broken door. There's and her children, but a claw catches her throat mid-scream, and her body crumples to the ground. A child whimpers one trembling word, "Daddy," and it breaks into a sob. The father screams in denial, reaching for his wall of bravery. One last time, a physical blow. The skill locks up, and a ghoul's claw tears straight through his chest. A blood-curdling scream tears out of him as the swarm drags his body into the darkness. Songwoo's vow hardens inside him, crystallizing into a truth, colder than a ray. And while the children shriek in disbelief, one little one turns to Songwoo, tears streaming down her face, begging the necromancer to save her daddy. Then comes a wet choke, and silence swallows everything. Against a seat, his hand trembling as the last of his life drains out, Songwoo lunges for a healing potion, his voice insistent. He can still save him, but Min-seok just shakes his head weakly, blood bubbling at the corners of his lips. With his final breaths, he begs Songwoo to protect his family, to make good on the promise he never answered, his fading gaze burning with one last desperate plea. And then the light simply fades from his eyes. Min-seok and is gone. A quest window blinks into existence, coldly triggered by a dying father's last wish. The system offers its heartless choice: resurrect the fallen knight as a skeleton, or abandonment overhead and around. The system dangles a reward over a fresh corpse, and disgust scorches up his throat. He recognizes this cruel machinery, transforming tragedy into a transaction just like it did with the professor. Min-seok's family is still screaming, and a promise made to the dead demands an answer. He doesn't know what words he'll offer, but survival in this hell demands brutal choices. He draws a steadying breath, raises his hand, and necromantic energy swirls into his dark, until Min-seok's eyes snap open, glowing with otherworldly light. Min-seok's consciousness jolts back in confusion. He remembers dying. He senses Songwoo through the dark bond and murmurs a stunned ask. Then he beholds the specter of death itself, looming before him, the grim reaper, and recoils and shocks the specter. He will never hold his family in his arms again. His voice trembles with bottomless sorrow. All he ever wanted was to be a good father, a protector. But this damned world stole everything. The shadows coil around him, whispering cold and relentless, demanding do you surrender every attachment? Himself with the family. After all, he's the strongest one here. The shadows keep hissing their cold temptation. Forget it all, let go. Find peace. Min-seok wavers. The seduction pulling out of me, or maybe he should surrender. Maybe he should be surrendered. The sound of someone too young to understand grief. He begs through the pressure, pleading to keep the memories of his family. He has to protect them even now. The shadows sneer, mocking him. Someone far stronger than a dead man will be shielding his family, the one duty carved into the very core of his soul. Then let him prove it. Let him see if a corpse can still shield the ones he loves. A single word settles over him like a brand. Idiot. A piercing screech rips through the void. A challenge. The darkness tightens, bones crack and reform, the soul bending under impossible pressure. And then the pressure shatters. A death knight rises where Min-seok fell. You granted my request. A voice resonates from the army from foam. Songs of avaricious disbelief and awe washing over him. This is the most unique undead Songwoo has ever witnessed, a marvel of necromantic evolution. He has 1,000 questions, but the swarm of ghouls still rages around them. They'll head back up together and finish this fight. It's time for the knight to march into battle once more. his oath reforged into death. Her child, her partner, everything lost. The barricade is drowning in claws. Then a shadow crashes down between the refugees and the undead tide. A star has fallen to Earth. Minsok An, the reforged Death Knight, has answered the call. Warrior wreathed in cold undeath. The onlooker's blood turns to ice. The nearest ghoul barely registers the threat before its skull crumples inside a gauntleted fist. A low growl rumbles from the Death Knight. He is already dissecting their weakness. Minsok feels the undead hive mind pulse inside his skull. The attack is pathetically slow. The obsidian blade splits it in two, and the system pings. 9,000 gold for another corpse. The countdown ticks on. 4,002. The attack is pathetically slow. The obsidian blade splits it in two. From the perimeter, Hanho stammers that this skeleton is a monster. He almost feels guilty for the other summons. The ghouls hesitate, then retreat. One breaks away, but a deep growl from the Death Knight freezes it in its tracks. And it scatters into ash. Another is by set of death. Dragon Slayer handle this was the right call. But Minseok An, level 12 Death Knight, monstrous stats, abyss chains and lifesteal whispering in his blood. Hanho calls out, "The last ghoul is gone." Station waits. He exhales sharply. They can't afford a single second of rest. The tables have turned. The hunters are now the prey. Wind hisses past them as they move. The journey through the ruins is a blur of tension. And when they halt, the station looms like a tombstone. Hanho points grimly at the question market. Seongwoo turns to his Death Knight, a weight pressing against his chest. Minsok still hasn't spoken of his children. Hanho asks why. The Death Knight's voice stays iron. Bloodier work must come first. Minseok will tell his children when this is over. Trusting they've already endured enough horror, they push deeper into the toxic fog. Every breath scrapes the airways raw. A violent cough tears through the group. Hanho's voice sharpens, with worry and disappointment, like paper in a furnace. Seongwoo's eyes narrow. This smoke isn't just a hazard, it's a deliberate balance breaker. He mutters that this twisted game was never built on fairness. Hanho can only agree. The silence that follows is heavier than the smoke. No words are exchanged, only the crunch of rubble underfoot breaks the silence. The group moves in a tight formation, each step a battle against the burning in their lungs. The Death Knight's armor drips a faint crimson in the dim light. Ahead, the smoke seems to pulse, alive and waiting. Amje Station, but the path feels endless. They press on, driven by the cold fire in Songwoo's eyes. Hanho's coughs grow harsher, and Jisu's steps begin to falter. Songwoo can feel the weight of the station ahead, a tombstone that might become their grave. The Death Knight walks at his side, silent and unwavering. No new threats are being destroyed, cannot stop. The countdown in the back of Songwoo's mind ticks on. 4,300 and something days left, but right now, only the next breath matters. The black smoke curls around them like chains. Hanho checks the quest marker again. No progress. Songwoo clenches his fists, fighting the urge to summon more reinforcements. The Death Knight remains motionless. A statue of bone and steel, the Death Knight remains motionless as statue of bone. A scrape like metal on stone echoes from deeper in the fog. Songwoo's hand moves to his blade. They aren't alone. The fog shifts, and the tension snaps taut. Silence returns, heavier than before. Songwoo gives a silent signal. They keep moving. Byamge Station looms closer now, its outlines just visible through the choking miasma. The Death Knight's eyes flicker with a cold light. Whatever waited in the fog has either retreated or prepared, and only retreats heavier than before. Songwoo gives a silent signal. They keep moving. Byamge Station looms closer now, its outlines just visible through the choking miasma. The Death Knight's eyes flicker with a cold light. Whatever waited in the fog is either the unknown, and the chapter ends on that fragile, desperate hope that the real nightmare hasn't even started. A mountain of rotting flesh and pure hate. Songwoo snarls through the toxic haze, but the doctor just laughs. This cause is nothing but a death sentence, gassing people and turning survivors into lab rats. And now that nightmare is coming straight for them. Golden curse. And Songwoo screams the order to target them first, but a thrown blade ricochets off a barrier of light. Minseok catches it easily and hurls it back with a taunt as is around their Death Knight. And one panicked attacker screams, "Who gave these skeletons telekinesis?" A razor-sharp rib spear punches straight through his chest, cutting his scream short. And the skeletons stagger. The divine aura eats at their very existence. But Minseok plants his tower shield and absorbs the brunt, his form an unbreakable wall against the searing radiance. One of the lab rats casually waves toward a sealed radiance. Old. Inside, a human shape is mangled beyond recognition. Fused with metal and tubes, a monument to pure scientific sadism. A wave of cold dread washes over Hanno, as he realizes these bastards have done this to dozens of innocents. Without a flicker of remorse, and the necromancer is finished. But suddenly, a priest gurgles and collapses. The Death Knight's blade flashes, and a scream tears through the lab. The system chimes in. The Death Knight just drains life force level 1. All nearby undead gets a stat boost of pleasure. She screams she'll never forgive these monsters. An overconfident priest laughs it off. It's just a skeleton. They'll melt it with holy power like all the rest. But Jisoo throws her arm forward, screaming for Minseok to create armor. Now. Summon. The system blazes. Teamwork recognized. Synergy effect activated. A hidden power unlocks. Indomitable Knight. Condition met. Undead plus Knight. Condition met. Undead plus Knight plus Shield. Effect. Immunity against harm, taking damage, but he no longer gets knocked back by that holy nonsense. That's more than enough for him. He locks eyes with the trembling priest, his hollow sockets promising a gruesome end. The priest stammers. Caught in that Death Knight grunts day. Level 2 this time. Nearby undead stats shoot up by 209. The priests gasp. The holy power has vanished from this area. Undead press forward like a tidal wave and someone screams to call the guards. But it's way too late for that. The head researcher stammers his perfect calculations in ruins. This can be claiming he's the one in charge of that unholy tank. The scientist scrambles backward, yelping for him to get away. Hanho's voice cuts through the chaos, raw with grief. So they murdered Hyunjun, just for some twisted experiment. The coward shrieks, backing away, calling Hanho a monster. Lunging forward, the system calmly announces the kill. 12,000 gold for killing a player. But the doctor's clone dissolves into glittering dust, and his impressed whisper lingers. Very impressive. Songwoo's gaze hardens in the city, from an unseen attack. Is that item meant for assassination? Suddenly it clicks. Oh right, the smoke bomb. A grunt escapes the doctor as he fumbles for something hidden in his coat. He rips out a stone smoke grenade, his final card to cheat death. One more time, and what last-ditch horror this bastard might unleash. The doctor mutters he's going to end this with his full power. But the system recognizes Songwoo's resolve. You have obtained the Lich's power. Maximum minions increased 50,000 for destroyed. Unlimited. Wow, look at you. He announces he'd better retreat for now. Songwoo spots the glint in his hand. A stolen grenade, the fog stun grenade, detonates, flooding the room with blinding mist. The doctor bolts, thinking this is his escape, but a blade cuts through the fog. That silent shadow moves without hesitation. Ah, so you can see even though your eyes lack light receptors. The doctor gurgles in shock as the blade finds its mark. Songwoo's class choice, it's the perfect card for surviving by yourself. But his tone turns cruel as he asks how Songwoo will protect everyone now, knowing they've unleashed an army of zombies and ghouls. After his own, him is a natural force like gravity. When humanity discovers something new, it's only natural to create weapons. The Ghoul King stirs behind them, its wounds knitting together. It's recovering. The doctor's voice echoes with finality. True power is more than self-preservation. Him off. The Death Knight replies he was waiting for those exact words. The doctor's form flickers as he sneers. We'll meet again. The system confirms the kill. 13,000 gold for destroying clone. 002. Hanhole stares at the vanishing remains. Was that just a body clone? Jisoo connects the devastating remains. Was that just a body clone? Jisoo connects the dots. Wasn't that just a body clone? Jisoo connects the dots. Wasn't that just a body clone? One slot just went blank. Doctor? 002. Level 9 gone. But there's still a level 15 doc. 000 listed as Yongdong Po, prosecutor. And 13 doc 3002 is if so massive and moves as one. And there's no time to think. The Ghoul King rises behind them. A tower of flesh and rage. Its massive body lurches forward with a ground-shaking step. It's moving. But up here, the Ghoul King refuses to stay dead. Hanho can barely gasp for air. The monster just won't quit. A defiant laugh tears from his throat as the giant lurches at him again, flesh knitting back together. He realizes their necromancer is trapped underground and can't replace the bony front line. "We need to be stronger," he shouts, "and faster." Then someone spots the necromancer's girlfriend unleashing a storm of fire. She's annihilating the horde solo, and the fighters around her can't believe their eyes. What the hell is she? Every ghoul that crawls toward her turns to ash, but the swarm is flooding toward the buses full of kids. A fighter screams as a claw grabs her ankle, yanking her toward a pit of teeth. Just in time, the monster's jaw snaps out into her face. Between them and the blast. But one child stares and asks, "Dad, did you transform into a skeleton?" The father admits the necromancer helped him become one. The kid's eyes light up. "That's so cool. I want to be a skeleton too." Jisoo arrives exhausted. She knew Samwoo was holding the blasket. The ground heaves, the Ghoul King lurches upright again with a sickening squelch. Songwoo steps forward. "I've got this." He launches himself at the horror, necrotic lightning crackling down his blade. The sword rams deep into the king's chest. Looks like it's almost dead. Those scientist bastards wore it ragged, nothing scarier than humans. Thunderous boom, black ichor spreading beneath its corpse. That was a bit brutal, huh? But then a system notification blazes in front of everyone. Main story chapter 2 ended unexpectedly. But then a system notification blazes in front of everyone. Main story chapter 2 ended unexpectedly on wonderful end. Top players' points skyrocket, as if they never stopped fighting. Don't they ever sleep? Rushing ahead might hide sharp risks. Does finishing the quest early mean we miss the true ending? He decides to smash the next quest anyway, but just as the battered group starts limping back to shelter, war horns rip the silence. A goblin horde erupts the sky. Bullshit. It's out. Narrow ravine, lungs burning, the goblin tide briefly choked up behind them. One fighter grumbles, "You swore you could beat 1,000 with your eyes closed." The respite shatters as the goblin vanguard slams into their makeshift barricades. Prepare for battle. Spearmen to the front, archers behind them. Songwoo anymore. 100 in moments. A father tells his son, "If we're dying today, we stay together." The son grins. "Me? I'm not dying, these goblins can't touch me." He's already earned 30 gold from one day. A holy force field snaps up from Punisher of Faith. 10 seconds as well. Corpses drunk on victory. 30 gold per kill. An entire army destroyed by his own hands. He dares anyone to challenge him. But then a shrieking horde blindsides him, burying him under a claws and fury. His moment of triumph shadows over grass. Mana whipping like a hurricane. Skeletons claw out of the earth as he yanks a goblin captain into his grip. Nearby, his father stammers in awe while his mother buries her face. She can't admit this demon is her child. Songwoo roars that only dead goblins are good goblins. Blood spraying with every swing, hurls a flaming axe, but a pillar of holy fire descends, swallowing the enemy. The battlefield holds its breath. Word of the Lone Necromancer's victory spreads like wildfire among the stunned survivors. That's when trouble erupts. Monster armies swarm across the country, safety zones being nothing anymore, and weakened groups are forced to flee. Oh, the war against thousands of orcs still rages. They urgently need Songwoo. Real allies, so he's going to help them. Facing the evolutionary society on top of the horde would be annihilation, but even they are likely drowning under the monster tide. Scouts report back, the goblin main base is hidden on Mount Paldal, with an estimated fleam of mounted on savage boars, captains and chiefs mixed in. But Songwoo's plan shocks everyone. They aren't here to win the battle. They're here to farm, suck all the experiences and gold. There aren't heavy ways to grow. 5. Songwoo just shoves a sword into the man's hands, his gaze promising "you will." Then a sharp call cuts through the camp. Jasu appears at the edge, bow in hand, fierce tiger hunter grin, processing muddy from bloodshed, prime for a decapitation strike. Songwoo's eyes light up. This makes it so much easier. He knows organized goblins are a nightmare, but leaderless they're helpless. So he decides to test that theory personally. Tearing it off its hinges, goblin leaders screech, frozen between shock and rage. A chief charges, but it's laughably slow. In the chaos, a divine artifact on his wrist glints, the protection of the thunder god. devouring all his mana for one destiny attack. 2,700 gold flies and out of our way. A third crumbles, and the rewards just keep stacking. Then Song-woo feels a heavier presence. Something bigger lurks. A massive goblin lord tears through the wall, roaring with fury. A true monster warlord. Jisoo eagerly asks if she can take the shot. But he doesn't even wait. He blitzes forward and severs the lord's head in one clean stroke. 105,000 gold rains down, a warlord's bounty. The goblin lord's corpse crashes to the floor, sending tremors through the factory. Song down at the goblin lord's corpse. The communist is about to begin. Remaining goblins realize their leaders are dead. The townspeople brace themselves as the horde surges toward them. A lookout screams that they're coming, a seemingly endless tide. But Song was the debuff. Excitement ripples through the survivors. This is like farming free gold. System debuffs flash over the goblin horde. Reduced speed, shattered morale, total communication breakdown. The goblins move like puppets with cut strings. Steak and ice, all thanks to Song-woo's plan. But the town's average level hits 4, and the gap between the strong and weak is stretching dangerously. The vulnerable drag down the survivors who have to carry them. Even cooks and pioneers push themselves to their limits to contribute, spiking. That's why Song-woo sent Hanho back to watch over the weak, and his brutal system, even the sick and the weak can claw their way up. That's the one mercy of this cursed game. Owen crouches beside him, telling him to breathe. The boy's hands tremble, but Song-woo's calm voice anchors him. For a long moment, the battlefield holds its breath. Survivors stare at the goblin corpses, the gold still glittering in the mud. No new threats howl, just the ragged breaths of those who made it through. The boy slowly lowers his bow. Somewhere, the next wave is already forming. Shatters as a scout's voice slices through. How many monsters? The northern boundary flickers, drone feed twists into static interference screams. A scout shrieks as 200 trolls charge. Panic detonates, a projectile slammed over the deck. But a second nightmare crashes down. Thousands of red orcs searches from Gimpo. Is a death sentence. Rally every ally to smash the trolls quickly, then pivot to face the orcs. But trolls are regeneration monsters with brutal strength. Rushing in means catastrophic losses. The Crusader team leader grits his teeth. The experience from killing trolls is too precious. He needs his Crusaders to hit level 10 for their exclusive quest. Sounds insane, but if they don't close the gap with the Necromancer, they'll never hunt safely again. He resolves to summon guards from Yongdaeonpo, leaving only a skeleton crew. Then a scout rushes in. The helicopter with the Necromancer is moments away. Excitement surges. They can crush the trolls and tear into the orchestra. Wait, the Necromancer told them to head toward the orcs. Did no one brief him about the troll threat? A stammering liaison confirms the Necromancer just said he wants to gather some bones here first. Gather bones? That chopper can't possibly be the Necromancer arriving, can it? A blood-red system warning blares across every screen. The Great Spirit has been activated in this area. Right on its heels, Death's response triggers, flooding the steps, the earth, shaking the ground. Soldiers stammer in sheer terror. A second colossal monster now lumbers beside the Necromancer, making the trolls look like toddlers. Someone gasps at a chat ping. 8,000 gold for a troll warrior. But those so-called giants are nothing but children next to the Necromancer's new beast. Song-woo's vision. 8,000 gold for another troll warrior crushed under his heel. The Crusader team leader watches, dread coiling like a serpent in his gut. Song-woo was already a monster, but now he's on a whole different level. Would even First Stage Awakening close this gap? Once this war's ashes settled, the Necromancer will be a distant speck he can never hope to catch. Death is a Necromancer's greatest asset, and this battlefield is an all-you-can-eat buffet. One soldier just stands there, mouth hanging open. Beep! The drone feed slices back to cold reality, but the horror lingers. Chato swallows, that's the Necromancer. The Liberation Guilds actually causes an all-you-can-eat buffet. One soldier just stands there, mouth hanging open, beeps. The drone feed slices back to cold reality. But the horror lingers actually called him. He was in Suwon last night. Crusader team is getting humiliated on their own livestream for the whole server to see. Song-woo strides forward, his bone drake shadow swallowing the battlefield. The Crusader team's smug confidence evaporates into raw, helpless dread. Giant synergy locks in, binding 20 colossal minions into an almost unbreakable wall of death. The synergy list pulses. Giant level 3 activates, slashing damage from all small and medium enemies by 30% as long as 20 colossal pulses. steps onto the field. Its roar tears through the air like a blade, rattling teeth and shattering nerve. The Crusader team hesitates, fear flickering in their eyes. This boss is a nightmare made flesh, and their confidence is crumbling. Wherever that monster axe swings, thrown out. The Crusader team hesitates, fear flickering in their eyes. This boss is a nightmare made flesh in their dirt. Is that weapon enchanted? Cursed? Battle. They start wondering if even the Necromancer can stand against that towering horror. A deafening explosion rips the air apart. And then everyone sees it. The troll chieftain isn't even fighting back. Someone clicks their tongue, cold amusement flickering across their face. They almost watched imagine this is getting absolutely demolished, limb by limb. Lone Necromancer. The troll chieftain collapses in a heap, its regeneration nothing but a cruel joke. Songwoo doesn't even spare it a second glance. His system chimes that the dead now obey him. Just a quick, simple hunt. He turns to his legion. Time to meet up with the Liberation Guild. Dead legion falling into lockstep behind him. The Liberation Guild's camp waits just beyond the ridge, clueless of the tempest marching their way. Across the river, an endless tide of red orcs roars, their armor clattering like a storm shell. He'd planned to use Songwoo as a shield to buy time and grow stronger, but the Necromancer has exploded in power since their last clash. A second orc army now bears down from the west, hungry and relentless. They'll have to cross this bridge. There's no way they're swimming in the heavy warplate. He can't afford to lose to the Necromancer again. Everything else is sealed with items and tricks. The entire Korean server is locked onto this fight. If Songwoo makes him look weak again, his reputation turns to ash. So he'll take the lead this time. Charge head first, and claw back his honor. With blood and steel. Breathless, since word leaked that the Necromancer joined them, volunteers are flooding in like a tidal wave. The camp erupts with desperate souls carrying battered weapons, their eyes blazing with a single fragile hope. The lone Necromancer fights for them today. It's impossible to control the community. Everyone who's seen Seongwoo in action won't stop singing his name. Now a 200-strong survivor group from Ilsan, who've been hiding low until this very moment, steps out of the shadows to join the fight. And from now Myeongju, 5 buses packed with fresh fighters, wallowing the horizon. Scouts confirm they'll crash against the bridge defenses in less than an hour. The Red Orc army pouring out of Gimpo is so immense that the scouts simply give up trying to count. Those survivors report the horde is pushing east and closer for smaller stretch. Gather every commander and make them cooperate with the Liberation Guild. No excuses. The commander's meeting kicks off and Manhwa steps forward to brief the room with steady, urgent words. The Liberation Guild has blocked most bridges and stationed watches everywhere, with magic drones buzzing non-stop to track any sudden move. A familiar voice slices through the briefing. Songwoo is back. He is locked on something else far beyond the camp. Unspoken unease prickles through the gathered leaders. Sure, he helped them, but he's the strongest person here and all eyes track his every breath. A sudden interruption fractures the tension. A scout yells that a survivor just flew in. Yes, Commander. She came riding on some kind of bizarre winged beast. Helicopters are the only safe ride with wyverns prowling the skies. So what impossible creature did she manage to tame? Curiosity ignites through the camp. They'll head out and hear her story right now. Don't get too close. One peck from that vicious beak will kill you instantly. A knowing look flickers across Songwoo's face, so that's what he'd been sensing all along. The winged beast lands with a thunderous gust, fight the chaos. The beast is gentle, it won't attack unless someone strikes first. The commander steps forward, eyes fixed on the urgent survivor. She stumbles, words catching like thorns in her throat. She desperately needs their help, right the second and isolated by the Red Orc army, on a blood-stained map. A mark that makes every commander's face turn pale. And then silence falls, heavy with dread, as the next move feels inevitable. On the blood-stained map, the final lifeline of a desperate people hiding from the mainland slaughter. Songwoo listens, knowing a storm of pirates is about to shatter their fragile silence, waiting for the next blow. Then the sea itself vomits up a nightmare. Hours ago, pirates come screaming ashore, an invasion no one saw coming. Dozens of fishing boats clog the coastline, spilling armed scavengers onto the sand. The survivors fight with everything they have, but the pirates crush their defenses and slam the boulevard shut, trapping them with no road out. Prosecutor Choi leans forward, jaw tight as iron. How many invaders are they dealing with? It's anchored offshore? Double that number could be lurking. The implication hits like a hammer. China's player base is an ocean. If this isn't a raid but the tip of a full invasion spear, everyone in this room is already dead. But Songwoo just scoffs, crossing his arms. Rats aren't soldiers. They are bottom feeders chasing cheap plunder. Jisu's eyes narrow to ice, though. Scavengers like that strike hardest when you're bleeding, picking off the wounded for sport. Raw fury blazing in his voice. They cannot stand here while those people get butchered. Sergeant Kim nods grimly, the weight of command pressing down. They are already drowning in orc blood, and they don't even know if these pirate scummers are deserted. Og. What if those boats surge up the Han River and slam into their exposed flank? Facing pirates and orcs at the same time is not a battle. It is a funeral. Or the orcs with everything they have. The orc horde already chokes Gimpo and Gangseo with a wall of green muscle. For now, that brutal line blocks the pirates from sailing inland. Scouts will watch the river, nothing more. Another strategist shouts in frustration, like a blade. Songwoo lifts his hand, and a dangerous light flickers behind his eyes. Couple to carve the pirate cancer out clean. Once the island breathes free, those survivors swing around and smash the orcs in a crushing pincer. A two-front war sounds glorious, but Prosecutor Choi shakes his head. Every soldier he has is already bleeding dry. Against the orc tide, alerting every pirate on that rock. Unless an army is not what they send, realization crashes over Hanno's face. His voice drops to a horrified whisper. Songwoo, cannot serious. Songwoo, cannot serious. Deep lines around her eyes. Can he really swallow 1,000 killers by himself? Songwoo just shrugs, that grim smile pulling at his mouth. His most devastating skills are nightmares to use in group combat. Too much friendly fire curses aren't nightmares to use. Learning how to fight China's players before the real war erupts. This ghost invasion will not be their last dance with these foes. Already redrawing the entire war map around this one-man cataclysm. He notes the Orc Lord's command post sits right behind Ganghwa Island, so sending Songwoo there plants him exactly where they need him, deep behind enemy lines. Songwoo pictures Gusty descending through cloud cover. Long and slow, the weight of the decision pressing down like a tombstone, settled. But Hanho grabs his friend's arm, voice splintering, "Not righty again. Just come back in one piece." On the screen building in her chest, she forces calm into her farewell, locking eyes with the man she may never see again. Songwoo manages an apologetic smile. Gusty can only bear 3 and every heartbeat counts. They're not, and finally failed. Partner Heian, ready to paint the darkness red. Then he grips the reins and Gusty shrieks, claws skyward, his heart a wardrobe pounding against the coming storm. His chest as Gusty's shriek tears the night. They plunge toward the island. Below deck, the pirate captain snarls, "No one hides." Then a crewman reports the missing men found dead, piled onto the ship. Before anyone can react, a click echoes and explosions, burning timber everywhere. One ship detonates, then another. The fleet becomes a floating graveyard. The captain bellows for answers, but secondary explosions drown his voice. Panic surges like a riptide. Just then, a sinister hissing cuts through. A thermos vomits thick, gas locks your body tight. The captain's blood turns to ice as they scramble to flee, but the enemy is already everywhere, closing in from all sides. The whole island swarms with hostile forces. This isn't a skirmish, it's coordinated extermination. The captain makes a desperate call. The bridge to the bigger island is their only escape. He raises at the cowardly Koreans and their bioweapons. It morphs into a nightmare. A wall of jagged bone and rotting flesh erupts, and at its center stands the Lone Necromancer, his death knight looming beside him. The captain chokes, legs trembling knowingly they've walked straight into the predator's jaws. What kind of hellish country is this? Songwoo's cold voice cuts through. They're nothing but stragglers from China's second server. Without a trace of surprise, he presses a hand to a dying pirate's forehead, sifting through the man's final memories. He sees the invasion route through gangway provinces, for battle, but Songwoo's reply drops like a guillotine. They're all going to die right here. A system warning blares, the Great Spirit skill activates, thickening the air with power. Then Death's response blanks the entire zone. Nerves on fire. The captain roars at his men to hold the line, but their own bodies betray them. And then the real nightmare erupts. Skeletons claw up through the bridge planks, hundreds of empty eye sockets locking onto the living. Pirates spin to find more skeletons behind them. Beside them, a cage of rattling death closing up. They try to retreat, but the way back chokes with still more undead. The captain spits curses, desperate fury masking his terror. Song-woo watches in silence, a faint saddleback runched up his lips. Birds dive from the smoke, pecking at the zombies. Someone recognizes them from Hyeon's reports. These are the enemy captain's prized scouts, but the hope curdles instantly. Those birds struggle pathetically against the undead tide. One by one, the black silhouettes plummeted lifelessly. Song from songs coming out of it. Dead birds shudder and snap back into the air, now puppets to the necromancer. The crew screams. The captain shoves a subordinate aside, roaring that he's getting out of here himself to warn the main fleet. Desperate battle cry. He just has to fly off this cursed island, but an iron voice freezes him mid-air. Where exactly does he think he's going? A powerful strike echoes like a thunderclap. His spine splinters with a sickening crunch, and he crashes to the deck. Paralyzed, the townspeople are free, fighting alongside the undead, all thanks to Mr. Necromancer. Song-woo studies the broken captain, murmuring it doesn't matter now. He leans down and asks anyway, "Your leader is the heavenly general, right? A dangerous smile? A baby on the sex of the undead." All thanks to Mr. Necromancer's song crosses his lips. He undakens the background when she has to stay. Those are free. Fighting on, and Song-woo's level shoots up to 17. A new ability unlocks. He can now view the memory fragments of the deceased with perfect clarity. He exhales, steadying himself in a rush of visions. Song-woo's Hafta from another era. Song-woo's spirit self searches for the heavenly general among the phantom crew. He just hopes this leader isn't another madman like the vampires or those deranged scientists. The frustrated officer snarls that they gave the second server away to that damn elementalist, and the so-called emperor keeps tightening his grip on the first server. It's surrendered. So what are they supposed to do? A younger lieutenant suggests asking an outside group for help. The first officer whirls on him. Does he know why they're wandering the open sea like refugees? He sweeps his arm toward the war table, where a rough sketch of the Korean coast glares back. The mainland looms. A sleeping giant, completely unaware of the jaws closing around it. They're going to devour the whole mainland like a shark. Song-woo pulls back from the vision with a grim sigh. No normal person would even think to invade another country. The pressure only grows, and his next move feels enemy. Nothing left to loot on the mainland, so a nervous underling blurts the unthinkable. Why not devour the sea first, ram through Korea, then the whole country? The general's eyes ignite. That's exactly his scheme, and Song-woo knows that it's only the beginning. 10,000 pirates earn double gold per kill and plunder 20% of every victim's gold. That cursed synergy is why they've been butchering people like livestock. The general reminds them of the absurd quest they all received. A prophecy that a righteous lord will appear after the chaos, only after the storm. So he spits the final order. Show no mercy and plunder everything that breathes. The system crackles with alien static. Then a new skill etches into Song-woo's being. Death's response, and his rank soars to experience expertise. He feels raw power surge inside, but a bitter taste follows everything, adapting to slaughtering other humans. A voice cuts through asking what comes next. Song-woo's gaze hardens. They're moving to Gimpo. The real war is just beginning. The horizon. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions tear the sky apart. Our boy stares at an ocean of orcs, far stronger than the normal breed, and the terrifying truth sinks in. This is just one advanced party. The orcs bellow a war cry, opens, and the north indicates its slot. The defenders scream, throwing themselves against the tide. Kill every last one of these damn orcs. The front line surges with desperate fury. Fire washes over the enemy ranks, turning orcs to ash in an instant. I haven't felt this high in a long time. No one fights like me, his voice crackles with savage joy. But a warning shouts back. Don't let your guard down. Then a shadow erupts from nowhere, catching everyone off guard. Close rates flying. Wrong about these orcs. They have zero fear. They're laughing, feeding off the carnage like it's a festival. Bam! A single strike lands with bone-shattering precision. Forward, cold exhilaration burning behind his eyes. Arg! An orc screams as his death magic rips through it. A captain yells, "Stay strong. We have to hold the orcs back. Help them." The plea echoes across the battlefield. Then a soldier points with a trembling hand. Org? Stark? A mage screams to cast a protective spell on the shield, but the enemy blast rips through before the spell even forms. Bodies fly, shields shadow. Rider vaults through the breach, trampling everything in its path. Damn it, Songwoo hisses, reading the collapse. A soldier's voice cracks with despair. Orc riders, I don't think we can stop them. Still, we have to try. Then a new voice booms, and the crowd, woo! They slam into the enemy like a holy wrecking ball. An orc commander barks to stop the mages, but the crusaders are already too deep. A shield bashes an enemy caster's skull in. The soldiers cheer up, igniting again. Buffs coming, priests. Don't hold back any mana, the prosecutor mutters to himself, eyes blazing with near completion. Any moment now, I'll complete the exclusive quest. He visualizes the finish line. Cross spear. Once I finish this quest, I'll be one step closer to the Necromancer. Then, I'll complete the exclusive quest. I'll be one step closer to the Necromancer. Then, Commander? I'm level 10, cracking with disbelief. Finally, I did it. The system scrolls light across his vision. The quest Prepare for Holy War Hero is complete. First stage awakened, unlocked. An exclusive skill granted, and destiny ripples slightly off its old track. Eyes staring upward. Something is coming from the sky. Panic and awe mix as a divine radiance breaks through the clouds. The prosecutor raises his hand and the light obeys his will. Vine area, allies auto-heal 29 per second, and every crusader's stats spike by 5. Orcs snarl, their courage shattering. A soldier drops to one knee, a shadow desktop. Another crusader's voice trembles. I can feel it, my shadow's breath temples. I can feel it, my shadows become a finite sell-off. Another crusader's breath temples. I can feel it, my shadows becoming out debt. Another crusader's voice trembles out to recover. A guild instead of chasing individual power, the prosecutor declares, because this crumbling world needs a leader, a pillar to anchor the desperate. This is the first stage of a revolution. A report crackles in. The bandits they attacked, Vasa, have slithered straight into the Korean server after all the chaos they stirred in the second Chinese server. Li Wei snarls with wolfish fury, cursing the plague they allowed to escape. I wonder who actually managed to stop those things. The question stings the air, heavy with grudging respect. Commander stands over his fallen, counting the cost of survival. But while grief settles over the survivors, one man fights differently. Songwoo, the Lone Necromancer, doesn't lose soldiers. He raises them and then chills on the Georges. Training these soldiers, months of investment ended by one unlucky orc swing. The commander gives the only order that makes sense: rest. But then a scout freezes, face draining of color. A rumble builds on the horizon and terror crystallizes as a dark mass swells into view. Another horde? No, this is their main forces. Before he can scream, the tactical officer's voice shakes as he pleads for retreat, to funnel the orcs into side streets. But the commander already knows the truth. Monsters always follow the largest crowd, and that crowd is at Yongdong Po Station. Step back. The men stare, caught between awe and horror at his suicidal stand. The ground shakes violently as the orc tide surges forward. An unstoppable avalanche of green flesh and screams from everyone to look, as a massive shadow sweeps across the battlefield. Confused rage twists their features as the sky darkens above them. Giant birds, no monstrous shapes, dive from the clouds. Leathery wings snap open, and a terrifying screech tail. The sky, and then a drake crashes into his front line like a meteor. Talons rip through armor, shields splinter, orcs scatter like insects. Jisoo screams the name that breaks the battle's gravity, still swings swords like medieval peasants. The explosives hit, and a wall of fire erupts across the orc front line. Bodies fly in every direction, across every magic projector on the server. The streamer's voice explodes, with hype as down body. Battlefield like Death's own angel. The streamer leans in, his viewers hanging on every word. He just joined the Necromancer's army. Is that an actual player? The magic projector's menu hovers in the corner. A normal rank consumism. Realization dawns. That knight moves with actual skill, not like some puppet. Maybe that was a real warrior, now bound to Shangwu's will. Across every shelter, every camp, eyes glued to the broadcast, the Lone Necromancer isn't just fighting a war. He's turning the entire Korean server into witness. Her counts explode. But while he counts his gold, shadows slide into position behind him. Liberation Guild enforcers, and they are not happy. He spins, weapon shaking, but the enforcer's voice brooks no argument. Put the weapon down. The streamer's confusion turns to fear as the order comes. Kill the live streamers to make him live up to position behind him. Liberation Guild enforcers, and they are not happy. He spins, weapon shaking, but the enforcer's voice brooks no argument. Put the weapon down onto position behind him, but a gauntleted hand slams him against the wall. The Liberation officer reminds him the Yewei Island attack used a live stream against them. Troop positions, numbers all laid bare for enemy. Spies, the feature ran away. Other streamers, other broadcasts, the truth is already burning across the server. The Necromancer is leading this war to victory, and that means their enemies know exactly what they're facing. The advantage of secrecy is gone. Songwoo watches the distance explosion, bloom, and a cold. There's something dangerous in the Necromancer's eye. Songwoo drops a single word, 6. Then another, peace. The word tastes like a promise and a threat rolled into one breath. A simple absolute counting of something only he can see. Werbeasts and mad scientists in the south, orc invasion from the west. Pirates raiding the coast. The strategist slams his fist down, cursing his hard mode spawn on this cursed peninsula. The Korean server is a speck on the global map. Smaller terror scopes, left hand, hunger crackling between them like static. 3 fronts, impossible odds, but Songwoo's smirk cuts through the tension. This is exactly the kind of chaos where a necromancer builds an empire. A small surfer means less gold, less experience. So they flip the risk, a crisis, and becomes the biggest farming opportunity the Korean server has ever seen. They carve through the orcs like a scythe through wheat. The global servers are waiting. After the orcs, the real game begins. Fighting other players, other factions, other nations. But other players or the wild card scene will always find new ways to betray you. One server travels over time, then who comes after that? The future is a gaping void, an endless ladder rushing toward them, and that silence is the last breath before the ground itself groans. A swirling rift rips open reality like tearing wet paper, vomiting the stench of orc blood, and that silence is the last breath before the ground itself groans. A swirling rift rips open reality like tearing wet paper, vomiting the stench of orc blood and dark magic. A massive claw, each talon grips open reality like tearing wet paper. Shouts for Songwoo, blades already drawn, but Songwoo's warning cuts through the chaos. Something is already emerging right at her back. A hulking orc chieftain steps through, murder gleaming in its piggish eyes. Its roar shakes the buildings, a declaration of war that needs no translation. Orcs pour from the rift like a ruptured dam, a relentless flood of green flesh and jagged steel. This is the ambush no scout could have seen, because they aren't coming from the distance. They're stepping straight out of hell. A warlord twice the size of any orc before steps through, dark energy crackling along his axe blade. The main army's vanguard isn't coming from the distance. They're stepping straight out of hell. A warlord twice the size of any orc before steps through, dark energy crackling along his axe blade. The main army's vanguard isn't coming from the distance. Sweeps forward as a sea of death crashing toward battered heroes. The real fight has only just begun. Songwoo's heart sinks as the orc tide crashes down on them. He let his guard down completely. The tanks scramble to form a line, but the battalion is still mid-gearing up. A guttural roar signals the brutes charging straight for the guildmaster. Then a divine emblem sears the ground, flooding the arrow with holy energy. A sacred buff now coursing through every survivor. The prosecutor storms in like a wrathful god, his presence alone, carving out a moment of safety. Holy energy floods the prosecutor's veins, every cell igniting with unshakable strength. He roars, his entire frame vibrating with raw, overflowing power. A pained groan escapes the orc front line as their sneak attack crumbles against the relentless buff. He mocks the pig-faced monsters between maniacal laughter, calling them stepping down in the relentless buff. He mocks the pig-faced monsters between maniacal laughter, calling them stepping down into relentless buff. He mocks the pig-faced monsters between maniacal laughter. Inferno that swallows the front line, incinerating orcs into ash. The survivors raise their fists in triumph, but the portal still gags and pulses, vomiting fresh enemies. A spear hurtles through the air, impaling a cluster of orcs in one devastating pierce. 2 portals are down. The coalition bellows to push forward and smash the next one, but the remaining portals flicker and pop out of existence with a hollow puff. A final concussive boom rattles the battlefield as the last portal implodes. Enemy troops still snarl and swing inside the perimeter. Songwoo clenches his fists, frustrated. He just touched first stage awakening, yet the gap between him and the prosecutor feels impossibly vast. That's when he fixes on a strange stone. With system alarm blares, the Orc Lord triggered a wide-range black magic spell. In 30 hours, every orc turns into a demon unless they shut it down. A collective groan ripples through the ranks. Another layer of impossible pressure, one sudden upgrade. Master's back at school, and that memory sends a disturbing shiver down his spine. But a sharp grin splits Seongwoo's face. He senses this dark sorcerer might be exactly the kind of enemy he's built to destroy. His communicator buzzes with an emergency message. The dust has made us be accidental. A massive winged shape screeches in the distance, its shadow swallowing the light as it closes the gap. A primal roar shakes the sky, and every head snaps upward, terror carving their expressions into stone. A horrified scream. Wyverns right now, when they're already stretched to the breaking point. Terrified, the airborne nightmares will lock onto their position. The commander signals desperately. The creatures veered away, but they need to stay frozen. With this many soldiers clustered together, a single glance from the sky could doom them all. Strong enough to fight wyverns, then answers his own question. They can't fly, so there's no way to engage. On the Korean server, wyverns rule the heavens, and any ground-bound survivor is just prey. Wyvern silhouettes retreat into the clouds, screeches fading, while an entire army holds its breath until the last wingbeat vanishes. The command ripples across every channel. All teams move out, with terrible news. The Gimpo plains are transforming into a barren wasteland overnight. Just yesterday, those plains were rich floodplains overflowing with wildlife. Now they're a desolate scar, nature withered to weather. Now they're a desolate scar, and nature withered. Voice hardens. If they want an all-out war, then our forces will deliver one right to their doorstep. A cautious ally warns against charging in recklessly. This could be another trap, just like the morning's portal ambush. The guildmaster snaps back that he knows. But the cautious ally warns against charging in recklessly. This could be another trap, just like the morning's portal ambush. The guildmaster snaps back that he knows. But the clock is ticking, and there's no time for clever tricks. One massive clash to end it. Sudden flashes and a thunderous explosion rip through the airport terminal, lights flickering as the enemy reveals itself. It's their main army, arrayed in horrifying numbers. The scale of it steals the breath from every onlooker. Explosion, that sharp glint of pragmatism lighting his eyes. He thrusts his hand forward, and a detonation tears through the nearest orc corpses. Only the blast slaps against an invisible barrier, shadowed uselessly. 3. A baffled murmur runs through the ranks. An MTM, a force field the dark sorcerer's trap, snaps into focus. The magical barrier gleams, a translucent dome of crackling dark energy, shielding the entire hordle of the ritual chants. Without happiness was at. But they aren't pushing forward. They're stalling, buying every second until that demon spell completes. The prosecutor grimly concedes they'll have to charge straight into the barrier. He doesn't like it, but Songwoo is right. A panicked question cuts through. Is there any way to limit casualties? Even a victory here could leave them crippled. Countless other enemies are waiting for them to bleed and weaken. The vultures will circle the moment this battle ends. And everyone knows it. There's that in a world this harsh, their guild needs to become far greater than it is now. Even the most paranoid survivors are starting to unite against the monster armies, but the real challenges are only temporary, glued together by system threats and personal agendas. Can anyone weld them into one unbreakable faction? A group so massive that every soul inside it can finally feel safe. He locks eyes with his allies and swears that as long as nothing stands in his way, he'll do whatever it takes to unite them all. Under which account, next move feels inevitable. Nothing changes immediately, and the scene lingers for another uneasy beat.